One Piece Blades of Fire Chapter 241-260. Chapter 241 Prepare for the Trial. Although this child does not enter the Tao of Forbearance, it must be recognized by the trial ground. If you insist on not letting her in, you will have to endure twice as many trials. Have you thought about it? Although Zhang Yang wondered why most of the things here were the same as those on TV, and he felt like he was being plotted against, he still agreed resolutely. No problem. But Tsunade-sama, wouldn't this be too rash? Whether this child can survive alone is unknown. Now, with the difficulty of entering the trial ground together with the first and second generations, doing this. As soon as Zhang Yang agreed, Kakashi glanced at Zhang Yang worriedly, and then defended to Tsunade, which made Zhang Yang feel a little cheated, and Jirai also spoke at this time. Tsunade, I don't think so. If this child is to die, he might really die in it. Then there's no other way. We can only let him and the child go in. There's no other way. There's no other way. Tsunade also frowned helplessly, and Zhang Yang knew in his heart that although he didn't know why they had to enter the trial ground they had never heard of, this time he had to do something to make everyone believe in him. Actually, it's because the trial ground can test his identity and strength. At this time, Naruto came in from the door, and when he heard this, Naruto was naturally indignant, and Zhang Yang had already guessed this fact, but he didn't expect it to come out of Naruto's mouth, and everyone only can be opposed by silence. At the end of the day, you are still a bunch of selfish ghosts, letting him risk his life to prove his truth. Naruto, enough. At this time, Kakashi came to reprimand Naruto, but was blocked by Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang said slowly. Actually, the most important thing for you is to let me bring something out. For some reason, all of you can't touch that place, and this thing is about survival, right? Everyone present was shocked by this. He didn't expect Zhang Yang to think of this step, and Kakashi also became serious and looked at the child who had surprised him many times. In fact, in his heart, it would be better to say that he is a child. Said to be more like a mature elder in terms of behavior and psychology. Well, I didn't expect it to be guessed by you. Forgive us for hiding it from you, but we really can't let outsiders know about this thing, so you can guess this step and stop it. If you can pass the test, I will put this all make it clear to you, and then apologize to you. How about that? Tsunade put away the surprise in his heart, sorted out his thoughts and confronted Zhang Yang, and Zhang Yang saw that Tsunade did have something to hide, and he also expressed his understanding. Anyway, I hope you can give me a reasonable explanation after passing the trial. Well, I'll keep my promise. The conversation between the two stopped here, and Kakashi sent Zhang Yang back. The sky was approaching dusk, and Kakashi and Zhang Yang walked on the way back without a word. That, Zhang Yang, will you blame us? Kakashi was the first to break this atmosphere. He didn't want to become the annoying person he knew, but Zhang Yang wasn't thinking about it. Hearing Kakashi's concern, Zhang Yang was shy of it, and then vomited. Tone. Haha, I know what you think. In short, I will cooperate with you until the trial is completed, but I hope you can help me take care of Naiko. Well, no problem. Speaking of which, I'm going to tell you your tasks and precautions. Zhang Yang also noticed that Kakashi started talking about business, and motioned him to continue. Originally, this thing was for the two of you to get it, but if you insist, it will take more time. As for why you need to get this thing, I think you should go to the stone in the trial ground to see it. Quote. What does that stone say? Zhang Yang asked with a puzzled face. Every different village has a different person or thing that divinations the future and senses the arrival of things, and the divination of the future in our Konoha village is not someone like the divination mother-in-law in the land of sand, but the stone. Zhang Yang may have some understanding in his heart, knowing that he will encounter a lot of troubles this time, but he still has to be cheeky. After all, he is a transmigrator selected by God, and he has the aura of the protagonist, so he will be fine. You have to pay attention to the precautions I said next, and you must do as I say, otherwise I will not know what will happen, do you hear? Although Jong Young wanted to think about it, he still knew in his heart that he was not invincible. If he did something wrong, he might really die, and after he died, he didn't know if he was really dead, but no matter what aspect, in other words, this is not what Jong Young wanted. "Hey," I said, "are you listening?" After seeing Jong Young distracted, Kakashi reminded Dao Young, and Jong Young also jumped out of his own thoughts and looked at him and apologized. I'm a little fascinated, I'm sorry. It's alright, focus now, and I'll tell you again." Under Kakashi's instructions, the two went back smoothly, and Jong Young also asked Kakashi to go back earlier to confirm how Naiko is now. "Naiko, I'm back." At this time, a scream came from the house. Jong Young secretly screamed badly, and hurried in. Go away, nasty. "Naiko, I'm here to save you." Jong Young saw Jong Young appear in front of him again, and Naiko saw Jong Young coming while avoiding the cockroaches, and ran into Jong Yang's arms as if seeing a savior, and Jong Young had no time to take care of the cockroaches, and used a little chakra to eliminate the cockroaches. Naiko, who was running away, lived. "Hey, Naiko, are you alright?" But at this time Naiko was in Jong Yang's arms for a long time, and she didn't want to let go for a long time, and Jong Young also knew how dependent she was on him, and he didn't know how to tell Naiko that she wanted to go out for a long time, and even if she herself agree, Jong Young doesn't worry that she is at home alone, which makes Jong Young embarrassed on both sides. In the dusk of the setting sun, Jong Young stroked Naizi's head, and Naizi stopped being wronged and smiled at Jong Young. "Well, Naiko, I may have to go out for a while. Until then, will you stay at home?" And when Naiko heard the news, she hugged Jong Young tightly and shouted, "No, you don't leave me anymore. I'm really upset because I always feel like something big is going to happen." At this time, Jong Young, who was being held by Naiko, suddenly recalled the taboos and precautions that Kakashi told him. Chapter 242 Start. First, remember to pass quickly after entering, otherwise it will lead to some difficult creatures. Second, after entering, you can only use ninjutsu 10 times, otherwise there will be space-time confusion after the number of times is exceeded, because there are various a place of stable space-time composition. Quote. That's why strange creatures and rare items can be born in such places. We need you to take out a scroll and a stone from it. The third is intricate and intricate. If you go to the wrong place, you will never come back. The fourth, and the last one, don't respond to the person who calls you behind your back, otherwise, the trouble will be even greater. Recalling what Kakashi said to himself, I always feel that there are more dangers than these, but Jong Young knows that he still has to do things, and this kind of place can't be hung up, and the most important thing now is how to arrange Naiko. Okay, if there's anything important, I promise, I'll find you right away when I come out. Really? Naizi looked at Jong Young suspiciously, and Jong Young also looked at Naiko unswervingly. After a long time, the two talents looked at other places separately, and Naiko also found that this was not good. That's right, Naiko. Jong Young suddenly said thoughtfully. What, Shenhuan-kun? Jong Young was going to tell him something else, but when he heard the title, Jong Young decided to tell her his real name. Naiko, my name is not Shenhuan, but Jong Young, but I didn't mean to lie to you. Jong Young, it's really a good name, but no matter what your name is, it's just a word to call you. I care about your people. When Jong Young heard this, he couldn't help holding the petite Naiko in front of him. Yes, everyone has someone who must be protected. The muttering of Jong Yang's mouth did not attract Naiko's attention, and Naiko also held Jong Young wholeheartedly, as if she had gained the whole world. At this time, Jong Young also secretly made a decision in his heart, I must go back and take Naiko with me. The two of them were silent, and they comforted each other for a short time together in the evening. Yo, come on, Jong Young. Me too, come on. You must come back alive. Seeing everyone seeing him off at the trial mouth, Jong Young couldn't help but be moved, but Tsunade was not by his side, and the escort Jirai also told Jongyang. Ah, he feels ashamed of you. This woman is really tough on the tongue but unexpectedly sensitive and vulnerable. Seeing Jiraiya's smile, Jongyang also felt that the burden was much lighter, and Kakashi next to him said to Jongyang. Jongyang, I hope you will remember it well, and I have already put the map and essential items in the backpack behind you. And Jongyang thanked him gratefully, and when he was about to enter the cave like a big mouth, Kakashi pulled Jongyang from behind. Don't be brave, if you really can't stand it, quit. Although I don't know what cards you have, this is my advice as a friend. Haha, it's alright, watch me return in triumph, remember to take care of Naiko for me, please. Jongyang said seriously to Kakashi, and Kakashi also nodded. It's nature, it's a smooth ride. After speaking, Jongyang entered the cave without turning his head, leaving only the back disappearing gradually. Although they were worried, everyone left the place under the leadership of Kakashi and Jiraiya. By the way, you must run after you come in, or you will be in trouble. Thinking of Kakashi's words, Jongyang began to run at a faster speed, but at this time the hole was gradually closed, as tight and solid as a mouth, without a trace of light, and without the light of Jongyang, he could only stop running. I'm going, what should I do? It's not the same as what was said on the stone. Because when he was outside, Kakashi brought Jongyang to the stone in front of the cave to look at it. If he wanted to enter, he had to drip blood into the stone to be recognized as qualified. After Jongyang did so, Kakashi revealed that he was very surprised expression. Because only 2 words are written on the stone. Death. Although Jongyang is the key to getting things back, since the prophecy stone said such affirmative words, everyone present was silent, as if hesitating what was inside and which Jongyang should choose. Don't worry, I won't die because I still have something to protect. This was what Jongyang said to everyone at that time, and Jongyang suddenly remembered that there seemed to be a flashlight in the backpack that Kakashi gave him. The art of fire escape and spark. I checked the backpack by the firelight of my left hand. There were only a few clothes, 2 bottles of water and a box that Kakashi asked him to use to hold the 2 things, plus a life-saving scroll that Kakashi had given him, but he couldn't use it as a last resort. Just didn't see the flashlight, at the same time on the other side. What is this? Kakashi saw a glowing object on the ground and went to pick it up. This flashlight, isn't it the one I used to collect supplies in Anbu? How could it run? Halfway through the words, everyone suddenly heard Kakashi groaning behind, and hurriedly turned around to see what happened to Kakashi. I saw Kakashi pinching this flashlight and sitting on the ground unwillingly. Jirai, who led the team in front, also found that something was wrong, so he also followed. Seeing the flashlight Kakashi was holding, Jirai had already guessed half of it, so pull up Kakashi and tell everyone to go forward first, with him and Kakashi in the rear. Hey, tell me, is that Kakashi-sensei's love token? I never let it go when I saw it, ha ha ha. Naruto looked behind and said to Sakura and Sasuke, while Sakura listened to the gossip and chatted with Naruto every word, while Sasuke looked at the flashlight and seemed to know something. What? Just as the two were discussing hotly, Sasuke's interjection silenced the two. This is Kakashi-sensei's former Anbu flashlight. If it can appear on this road and is still the way that Jongyang has traveled, then it makes sense. In short, Jongyang's bag and Kakashi-sensei's previous Anbu's bag was taken by mistake, and the bag of Anbu-sensei Kakashi that Jongyang took is full of dangerous things. Naruto was stunned and wanted to go to Kakashi to question him, but Sakura stopped Naruto and said, "Do you think it's okay? In this situation, if you ask questions, you may not get any results, but it will even trouble Kakashi-sensei even more." At this time, Sasuke looked at Jiraiya behind him and Kakashi holding a torch, and seemed to have thought of something, and continued. The equipment of Anbu ninjas, if what you have learned is correct, then the Dark Army commander like Kakashi-sensei should have a few ordinary clothes plus an invisibility cloak. Chapter 243 The Danger of Premonition. Ah, is that the kind of invisibility cloak that can even cover up chakra and smells. Naruto interrupted Sasuke's words and asked with a look of surprise, and Sakura also held Naruto and motioned him to shut up and listen to Sasuke continue, and Sasuke also paused and continued. Besides the clothes, there are 2 bottles of water-like substances inside, but that's not actually water. Naruto said in a hurry when he saw him selling out. What's that? Carol, a potent oil with extremely strong destructive power. Even if it is not set on fire, it will spontaneously ignite in the air, and if it touches the skin, this oil will also corrode the contact area at a very fast speed, except for there's that kind of bottle quality that's otherwise dangerous. Naruto said nervously after hearing this. Hey, originally there was water in his backpack, but since the backpack was wrong, wouldn't that be? Shut up, hurry up with peace of mind, we have to believe in Jongyang. He will definitely come out. Kakashi in the back actually heard it all. Hearing Sasuke say this, Kakashi mentioned it in his heart, but remembered the various escapes of Jongyang. She chose to believe him, so he no longer worried. After the 3 of them were interrupted, they had to hurry on their way in silence. At this time, Jirai was also thinking, was that scroll the one he gave to Jongyang? If not, then something big will happen. At this point, Kakashi and Jirai also suddenly thought of something, looked at each other, and they both sighed, because she saw his fate early in the morning. Is this fate? Zilai also looked at the sudden heavy rain, and worried about Jongyang in his heart. Tsunade, who had just finished his work, saw the light rain, and slowly stood up and looked at the trial ground in the distance. His eyes were full of guilt, worried and uneasy. And everyone who had arrived at Konoha had disbanded. Kakashi also ran to a tree to feel the rain hitting his face, and muttered to himself. Please create light in the darkness. I believe in you. I also followed this path to get to where I am now. At this time, Jongyang was running all the way, because when Jongyang was looking for something with the help of fire just now, something ran towards Jongyang and tried to bite Jongyang with his fangs. Although Jongyang did not have a flashlight, his perception has only increased recently. So without waiting for the monster to get close, a lazy cow rolled and kicked this thing with 2 feet but the fangs of a monster. It doesn't matter if it doesn't kick, as soon as the monster is put on the opposite rock, the monster instantly screams and echoes the entire cave, and it only feels like an earthquake all of a sudden, the whole cave shakes, and Jongyang instantly covers the perception farther. Unexpectedly, a large group of monsters that were exactly the same as just now were running towards him. Jongyang hastily cleaned up and then relied on his perception to avoid the terrain. On the way, he ran through a fork in a few holes. Open the monster. Sure enough, what everyone encounters when they come in is different. Are those things the result of my blood just now? Jongyang sat alone on a stone like a chair and panted, but after he settled down, he realized that he didn't follow the map, and now he doesn't know where it is. Damn, I went wrong. I really hope it can be archived, otherwise it won't be so embarrassing, and this is where time and space are intertwined, otherwise the monster just now can't be called out. Jongyang closed his eyes, held his breath, and used his perception to perceive the surrounding terrain. Now he has a chair-like stone within his range. When the scope was increased, Jongyang found some clues. There was a statue on the ground that was several times larger than himself, and his body was facing his direction. Jongyang immediately began to be on guard. There are a few holes in this place. Why? We'll be on his own side. After being on guard for a while, Jongyang noticed that nothing was wrong, so he walked slowly over and looked at the statue carefully. Only then did he realize that the entire statue was completely integrated with the stones on the ground, and it didn't look like an artificial desert at all. Men and women, only one can be seen. The service is a long robe, which is slightly thinner than the uniform service of those Hokage, and this person has horns on his head, which makes Jongyang puzzled, but he seems to have an impression of this person. Forget it, I've been thinking about it for a long time with no results. Let's think about how to find a place. At this time, Jongyang found that there was a small plane under the statue he just touched, and there seemed to be words on this plane. Because it was very dark, Zhang Yang couldn't see it through his eyes, he could only narrow his perception and cover it. Soon, the words on the slate appeared in Zhang Yang's mind. The leading edge is round and short, so I take this place to expand the 8 gates. After 10,000 years, someone will enter my 8 gates and gain this divine power. Zhang Yang read it along with the words above. After reading it, Zhang Yang regretted it, because he found out that there was still a small line of words written. If you read it, it is considered to accept the challenge. I'll go to your second uncle. Where can there be such unmarked remarks? After scolding, Zhang Yang still released his perception to observe the changes in the vicinity. Suddenly, the space in the small hole suddenly changed. Zhang Yang suddenly remembered this feeling. This is the feeling of being beaten into the turbulent flow of time and space. Zhang Yang, who was trying to figure out how to escape, suddenly felt his eyes light up. Ah, it's light. After a sting, Zhang Yang gradually got used to it. At this time, Zhang Yang was standing on a grassland, and in front of him was a towering mountain. When Zhang Yang was confused, a voice came from somewhere. The first trial is to climb the mountain with one hand. Those who succeed in the climb before sunset can enter the next round. Start now. Zhang Yang's heart is complaining about what setting this is. Does Naruto world have these things? Ah, it hurts. Zhang Yang's other hand was carried behind his back by an irresistible force, and Zhang Yang said in pain when he couldn't resist. I use that hand most of the time, can I change my hand? Zhang Yang was just complaining at first, but he didn't expect that invisible power to actually be exchanged for him. Zhang Yang found that he could communicate, so he came up with an idea. Send me straight up. Zhang Yang seems to know that this planner who doesn't know anything can fulfill your wishes, and then Zhang Yang received a ruthless reply. Everyone has only one chance to ask, no matter what it is, I will do it, but I have helped you realize this wish of yours. Chapter 244 The first door has to be tried. Zhang Yang couldn't say anything at this time. He scolded himself 10,000 times in his heart. I would have known that TMD told this thing to send him to the side of the stone and the scroll. Why do you ask for such a mental retardation? Ah. Now Zhang Yang wants to cry but has no tears, but looking at the weather at noon, Zhang Yang knows that he must hurry up. Who knows what will happen if he fails? He grabbed a relatively reliable stone first, and then used his whole body to exert force together. Although Zhang Yang only had one hand, the strength of being single for 20 years was not covered. At this moment, Zhang Yang was concentrating on slowly climbing up. Finally, it's halfway through, keep going. Zhang Yang looked at the sun, which was about to set in the afternoon, and was reminding Zhang Yang. At this time, Zhang Yang's hands and feet were a little unruly, and his hands began to tremble. Zhang Yang, who realized this, was also in a difficult situation, because in the middle of the vertical mountain, there is no place to rest. I have to climb up in one breath, not only for my own life, but also to answer Nico's request, I must go back alive. Zhang Yang was instantly full of fighting spirit, and mobilized chakra from his body, but there seemed to be some restrictions on this mountain, and the chakra used by Zhang Yang was very small. Forget it, it's better than nothing. Anyway, I stopped trembling. After I go back, I must question those people carefully. The mountain peaks soaring into the clouds, and Zhang Yang has already climbed to a place close to the clouds and mists. As long as he passes through the clouds and mists, Zhang Yang can be freed. Hey, Kakashi, can you do it? On the other side, Kakashi seemed to be discussing something with Kai. Well, it should be right. As long as the induction frequency is increased, it should be able to contact Zhang Yang. At this time, Zhang Yang's whole body has gradually become stunned, and he may fall into the valley at any time under the influence of the surrounding strong wind. Now Zhang Yang is climbing by his own willpower. Kei's appearance and voice appeared in his mind. Hey, boy, it's okay. I finally got in touch with you. Are you all right now? Hearing Kai's voice, Zhang Yang's hand that was about to be loosened tightly again, facing Kai in his mind. It's not good at all. Hey, I'm in one of the 8 trials. I'm in the middle of the mountain. I can't go up and down. I can't hold on anymore. After Kai heard it, he felt that the name was a bit familiar, but he didn't think much about it, and immediately told Zhang Yangdao. Now close your eyes, let the qi in the body flow to the brain, and then combine the chakra and qi into one, and then directly use this force to melt into the whole body, and then you can temporarily escape. Zhang Yang did as Kai said, but he didn't expect a reaction in his body. This TM is faster than being single for 30 years. Huh. Kai heard Zhang Yang muttering to himself, and couldn't understand what he was talking about, but Zhang Yang didn't have time to explain it. Now Zhang Yang's hand is full of strength. Zhang Yang originally wanted to try jumping over and clinging to another rock. Yes, I didn't expect one to jump more than 10 meters, which frightened Zhang Yang. At this time, there was a black commotion below the mountain, and Zhang Yang watched as he climbed. Below is a group of black flames, which surrounded the entire mountain, and Zhang Yang sensed the energy of this kind of thing. It's the same flame as Amaterasu, it's a challenge you can't afford to lose. Zhang Yang looked at the direction of the sun. At this time, the sun had already gone halfway, and only the other half was slowly falling on the plain. Although the scenery is very beautiful, Zhang Yang is not in the mood to appreciate it now, and Zhang Yang's physical strength is also draining a little bit. Suddenly, the flames below suddenly changed, all the flames gathered together, and Zhang Yang felt the heat behind him, only to know that something was coming up below. It was a pair of huge black hands composed of black flames. It was now grabbing towards Zhang Yang. Because there was no need to climb, the speed was not only a little faster than that of Zhang Yang, but Zhang Yang saw the threat of this hand and also speeding up the climb, jumping out tens of meters at a time, and the sun at this time is only a little bit left. Kai, how are you? Have you contacted him? Kakashi asked on the side, and Kai slowly opened his eyes and said to Kakashi. Well, got in touch with. Just. Kakashi heard Kai say that the front was relieved, but he didn't expect that Kai didn't finish the last sentence, and the tears in his eyes couldn't stop flowing. At this time, Kakashi seemed to be struck by lightning, and the whole person was electrocuted, and then patted Kai on the shoulder. Okay, I already know. Kakashi, this kid, woohoo. Looking at Kai crying, Kakashi looked into the distance helplessly, thinking about how to tell Naiko about this, but Kai continued. I didn't expect this kid to succeed. This is really super youthful and super burning. Kakashi looked at Kaido with a mixture of surprise and murderous eyes. You mean he's not dead? Woohoo. Then why are you crying? Because I was so bloody, I couldn't help but leave tears of youth. Kakashi resisted the urge to hit someone at this time, but he didn't expect Kai to be so badly beaten. Zhang Yang, who was lying on the highest peak, recalled the scene just now, and still had lingering fears. If he hadn't called for help and Kai taught himself a way to overdraw his physical strength, I'm afraid he wouldn't be alive here now. Zhang Yang just finished thinking this way, and the last ray of the sun disappeared, leaving only the stars all over the sky to replace the sky. Congratulations, Tester, enter the second gate now. I'll wipe your uncle, the labor and management have just come up, and the labor and management will go to the next level before they have a good rest. No, the labor and management quit, I want to rest for a while. Zhang Yang was swearing, but who would have thought that the voice actually took his words seriously and said in a voice without any emotional fluctuations. The second door has been fulfilled for you. You can rest here for 10 minutes before taking you to the next door. Zhang Yang didn't know what to scold anymore in his heart at this time. He had no strength to scold, and he didn't want to complain about this strange setting, but Zhang Yang had already made up his mind. At the third door, he must say a normal wish. How is it? Can I continue to contact this kid now? Kakashi asked Kai, whose hair was electropunk in front of him. The kid should be resting now, as long as he recovers, I can contact the kid. Chapter 245 The Trial of the Second Sect. The time has come, go home. Just when Zhang Yang was lying on the ground feeling sleepy, a gust of wind blew him to a strange place. Are you called someone like that? Zhang Yang was lying on the ground in a dog-eating posture, and the voice at this time echoed in Zhang Yang's ears. The second gate has arrived. This stage requires you to defeat 8,000 bronze figures, and there is no time limit. Zhang Yang was stunned. TMD is kidding. The labor and management have not yet had a good rest and TM told me to fight 8,000 copper figurines. From the current situation, 80 people are enough. Besides, they are not ninjas, but bronze figurines. There is a direct hit in Zhang Yang. What the hell is this bronze man? Just hearing the name is enough. Start. Zhang Yang originally wanted to use some countermeasures, but the unquestionable voice in the air made Zhang Yang's heart suddenly cool. It was only at this moment that Zhang Yang realized that he was on a flat ground, and when he looked around, he couldn't see the end at all. Zhang Yang, who originally wanted to fight the war of attrition, suddenly wanted to scold his mother. This TM is a war of attrition for them to fight me. There was a sudden deafening sound of running around, and the sun was just rising, and the first ray of sunshine covered the entire flat ground. I'm rubbing it. Surrender this TM. I saw bronze figures from all directions rushing towards Zhang Yang, and he had no concept of numbers, and he saw that the sun was shining down and the places where he could see were densely packed with reflections of copper light. In less than 10 seconds, Zhang Yang will be surrounded and beaten by these 8,000 bronze figures. 10. Zhang Yang thought silently in his heart, while thinking about the strategy of retreating from the enemy. No, I'm totally clueless. 9. What should I do? At this time, the sound was getting closer and closer, and the shock on the ground could be gradually felt. 8. Yes, let's try it for now. Zhang Yang condenses chakra, and Zhang Yang condenses a lot but is still not satisfied. What Zhang Yang wants is the spiral pill that destroys everything. At the same time, Kakashi, who was waiting for Kai and Zhang Yang to contact, felt the expansion of the sealing technique. This amount. I'm afraid something extraordinary has happened, so I'll give you a try for the time being. Kakashi relaxed 1/10 of Zhang Yang's chakra volume, and Zhang Yang on the other side felt that the chakra that was about to be depleted suddenly burst out into the body like a spring, and suddenly the joy in his heart, but there was only one left. The next 5 seconds, but this does not affect Zhang Yang. Good job. Today I'm going to create my own ninjutsu. I saw that Zhang Yang gathered half of the chakras in his 2 hands, and then made half of them become fire attributes and half became water attributes. 4. It'll be fine soon. At this time, Zhang Yang can already see the appearance of the bronze figurines. This is a group of mechanical bronze figurines, and the uniform expressions on their faces are clearly seen by Zhang Yang. Haha, go to hell. Black spiral pill Kai. I saw Zhang Yang combine the 2 different chakras into one, and immediately the 2 chakras began to repel each other, and then became bigger and bigger. Zhang Yang threw the 2 spiral pills out in an instant, forming a circle of Tai Chi, which gave all the enemies around him. Out of sight. Blast. Immediately not far away, the 2 spiral pills echoed head to tail, and the head and tail were connected, and a huge wave of air spread to Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang, who was still very weak just after running out of chakra, was shot to the ground by this air wave. At this time, the surrounding explosions continued one after another, and Zhang Yang knew in his heart that the subsequent explosion caused by the incompatibility of water and fire, so Zhang Yang felt at ease, and slowly closed his eyes and wanted to rest for a while. Hey, how are you kid? When Zhang Yang closed his eyes, a punk-headed guy suddenly appeared in his mind, which shocked Zhang Yang. I'm going, who are you? Stinky boy, it's fine, I'm Senior Kai. Zhang Yang suddenly realized, and looked carefully, this is Kai, Zhang Yang's doubtful way. Senior Kai, how did you become like this, like being struck by lightning? You don't need to care about this. How are you doing now? It's alright, I feel you are a little weak. Of course, Zhang Yang knew how weak he was now, but he still tried his best. I'm fine, the most important thing now is how to get out. At this time, Kai had already remembered where that place was, so he continued. That place was entered by my father and I when our strength was at its peak. After we came out, we were appalled. I didn't expect you to enter that place. As soon as Jong Young heard that there was a play, finally someone came to lead the way, and asked excitedly. Can you tell me what the third door is and what is the way to break it? It's useless, these doors are randomly changed, there is no regularity at all, and all the levels will be messed up, so I can't help you, sorry. As soon as Jong Young heard this TM was random, he suddenly felt that there was an abyss ahead, and at this time Kai also comforted. Show your momentum, don't lose, you have more youth than me. Jong Young wanted to say something, but a voice interrupted the conversation between the two, and Kai was also disturbed at this time. Hey, Jong Young, boy, can you hear me? A magical sight also appeared on Jong Yang's side, and Jong Young also increased his alertness with the changes. I saw that the surrounding bronze figures all disappeared, and the sun gradually rose, but not only one sun, but 9 suns. What do you mean, 9? At this time, the surrounding voices sounded again. The third door is open. Jong Young thought to himself, he hasn't rested yet, this is the beginning of TM, and now Jong Young, after the battle just now, is exhausted, and there is only a little chakra left. This gate needs to stand the test of 9 suns. If you can persevere within 1 day, it will be judged as a successful test. Jong Young was already sweating profusely at this time, and when he heard that this guy had to stand the test of a day, Jong Young could only despise this rule in his heart. Trial, start. This TM started long ago. When he heard the voice saying it started, Jong Yang's heart collapsed. In order to save his energy, Jong Young had to sit on the ground and rely on chakra to cover his body to reduce the burden. I'm going, I'm so thirsty. The longer Jong Young sits, the drier the inside of his mouth becomes, and the water in his body slowly evaporates. At the same time, on the other side, Kai, who has been disconnected from Jong Young after trying for a long time, can't get in touch. Casey Road. Suddenly I can't get in touch, but that kid is fine now, there's nothing wrong, let's find out. At this time, Kakashi suddenly thought that there was an important thing that Kai did not tell Jong Young. Chapter 246 Nirvana Rebirth. By the way, did you tell him that the water is not drinkable? Not at all. Kakashi looked at the people in front of him and didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and the people who were willing to say their mistakes without thinking and still looked blank, probably only Kai and Xiaoli. Ah, this water is poisonous. Next to an empty bottle that was opened and finished drinking, there was Jong Young rolling on the ground, and Jong Yang's body had begun to show signs of swelling. If it wasn't curbed, that Jong Young might die here. Amaterasu. Under the burning of Lai Hiyori's body, Jong Yang's eyes unconsciously released Amaterasu to himself, and at this time, the black flame was swallowing the rolling Jong Young, and slowly swallowed together with the red flames. In less than a while, Jong Young stopped moving, and the black flame slowly disappeared. When a heat wave swept through, only a pile of black slag was left with the wind. Ah! Kakashi suddenly knelt on the ground halfway, clutching his extremely painful hand. Kai, who was next to him, saw that something was wrong, and hurriedly came over to help Kakashi, and Kakashi watched as the bloody seal on his arm gradually began to fade. This is, the seal is lifted. Kai looked at Kakashi with a bewildered expression and asked. What seal is lifted? What happens when it is lifted? Kakashi clutched his arms and slowly stood up and walked forward, while Kai also looked at Kakashi with a puzzled expression. The clouds in the sky were already tangled. Kakashi, it's going to rain soon, let's go first, this kid will be fine. Kakashi turned his head sadly, and the rain couldn't help falling. The release of the seal means that I am dead. After Kakashi finished speaking, he disappeared into the rain curtain alone, leaving Kai with sadness and surprise written on his face. What? Tsunade, who heard the news, stood up from his seat and looked at Kakashi, and Kakashi remained silent after finishing the news of Zhang Yang's death. In the trial ground, the poisonousness of the 9 suns is still being roasted, but the only difference is that Zhang Yang, who was burned to ashes, is slowly taking shape. Shape up bit by bit. Ah, I thought I was going to hang up tilde. The human-shaped ashes suddenly said a word, and then a white and tender hand broke open the black shell from the inside, and then Zhang Yang came out like a cocooned butterfly. Twipe, I didn't expect this Rinnegan to have such a tempering function. Zhang Yang, who had turned to ashes just now, relied on merging with Rinnegan, and Zhang Yang escaped the disaster. Although his eyes were still usable, he just turned into a writing wheel. At this time, Zhang Yang felt very cold all over, and when he came out, he shivered. Around the sun. I'm going, why is the sun getting colder, or am I getting colder? Zhang Yang decided to try collecting sunlight to keep himself warm, but as soon as he waved his hand, a sun was sucked in by Zhang Yang, and Zhang Yang who absorbed the sun didn't know what happened. What do these mean? Although the body is a little warmer, it is still very cold. Zhang Yang picked up his hand and looked at it for a long time, and found that there was nothing unusual, so he tried to slowly stretch out his hand to catch the sun. At this time, a magical scene happened. When Zhang Yang's hand was taken out, the sun came towards him. Now, although Zhang Yang didn't catch anything in his hands, he could clearly feel that he was grabbing something hot. Who cares? These suns should be a special helpless, not a real sun, it should be fine if they are absorbed. With the end of the muttering of this sentence, Zhang Yang also absorbed the sun in the sky. At this time, Zhang Yang no longer felt cold, but there was a force to find a vent, just like holding shit. Boom. A flame mixed with black flames spewed flames 10 times larger than Zhang Yang's hand like a giant dragon, and the place facing it was instantly crushed, extending to the horizon. After venting, Zhang Yang discovered that he had made a powerful attack without any knots, but after the blow was used, the chakra in the body was also exhausted. The third trial was successful. Ah, I'm exhausted, if I can, I want to. Before Zhang Yang finished speaking, Zhang Yang stopped by himself. After experiencing the lessons of the previous few times, Zhang Yang knew that he could not talk nonsense, so he thought about it for a long time, and Vivi Isho on the corner of his mouth seemed to be planning something very interesting. I want a unique stone. Although Kakashi didn't tell Zhang Yang what the name of the stone was, the stone must be precious and unique, so he heard the empty voices around him. Oh, do you want the chakra ancestral stone or the end of the world stone or the reincarnation stone or... Stop. Zhang Yang knew in his heart that if he didn't interrupt this guy, I'm afraid he would have to finish listening to him and finish talking about all the stones in the cave, so Zhang Yang continued. I want a chakrazu stone. As you wish. Disperse. A seemingly small stone, just as big as an ordinary stone, gradually fell into Zhang Yang's hand, and Zhang Yang also caught it and played with it. After careful observation, he found that this thing was nothing like an ordinary stone. The only difference is that the shape of this stone is regular, it is a square, and Zhang Yang can feel that there is an ability fluctuation no less than his own chakra volume. Although I don't know if it is, but I'll give it a try for now. After I get in touch with Kai, I'll ask what kind of stone it is. My wish has been fulfilled for you, the fourth door is open. Zhang Yang hurriedly kicked on the stone, for fear that this girl would suddenly attack and get the stone, but it turned out to be the case. Just after Zhang Yang put the stone on his back and put on his backpack, Zhang Yang was sucked away by a door similar to a door but without a frame. The fourth gate, return. After hearing this voice and reciting, Zhang Yang's eyes darkened, and he fell heavily to the ground, only to see Zhang Yang standing up and scolding in one direction. This door belongs to the dead door, please be prepared to start again. Zhang Yang is also awkward to hear, why does this voice have to be emphasized at the end, and this door actually has a name, and it is rare to start after preparation, and Zhang Yang feels that the surrounding is not simple, although it is dark all around, but that it doesn't feel good to be stared at by someone who wants to kill you, and he feels more than one staring at him. Outside the entrance of the cave, the originally peaceful Konoha village suddenly became lively. Chapter 247 Death News. Look, it's all your good deeds. Why? Naruto was extremely emotional and roared at Tsunade, who announced the news of Zhang Yang's death. At this time, Xiaoying and Xiaoli pulled the emotional Naruto from behind, and some people in the audience sighed. Some people sighed regretfully for Zhang Yang, and what's more, they smiled secretly at ease, because this unknown person is finally dead, and now he can finally feel at ease. Quiet everyone, I have something to announce. Everyone is also convinced of Tsunade's majesty. Although she usually likes to gamble with a carefree attitude, when Tsunade is serious, she doesn't dare to provoke her. This is a kind of hockey. I'm going to prepare for 3 days. If Zhang Yang still doesn't come out, then I'll go in with Kakashi Jiraiya to look for people. In short, we must see people die and see corpses. This was also the request of Kakashi and Jiraiya, so the two of them also prepared for the battle next to them, and Naruto in the audience felt the blow for the first time. This kind of life blow made Naruto feel life again. Powerlessness and fragility. Why, the guy who was talking well just now suddenly said he was not there. Naruto was thinking about it when suddenly there was an exclamation from the side. A ninja ran to Tsunade on the stage and whispered a few words. Tsunade's face suddenly changed. What? That girl went to the trial ground. When everyone in the audience heard the news, they instantly exploded, and Naruto was stunned. Kakashi said anxiously to Tsunade and the others. Come on, there is still time to intercept Naiko now. I promised Zhang Yang to take care of her. Everyone hadn't reacted yet, and when Kakashi reacted when he heard Kakashi's words, Kakashi had already jumped out of the direction of the trial ground. Kakashi-sensei, wait for me. Naruto wiped away his tears, broke free from Sakura and Xiaoli's obstruction, and chased after him, and at this moment Tsunade and Jiraiya also chased after him. Don't go in. Ling, who I promised to protect, has already been killed by me. I don't want to miss the appointment again. I will never let the tragedy happen again. Kakashi increased his speed even faster, and accelerated on the way to the trial land, and behind him were Tsunade and Jiraiya who were thrown far away, and then Naruto and a group of people were dying. Chasing Kakashi. Oops, well, it's time to start. Zhang Yang rested for a long time, and finally made up the chakra back, and also fixed his body, so that he could pass this door better. The rule of this door is, run away. If you don't die, it will be regarded as a successful trial challenge. Huh, what the hell? When Zhang Yang was still thinking about what this meant, the surrounding iron fence was opened, and the thick chains pulled up the heaviness of the target, letting Zhang Yang know that this challenge was not easy, as if something was about to be released. Since he couldn't see the surrounding scene, Zhang Yang let out his perception to explore the surrounding situation, but the result was an open field, a flat ground, surrounded by smooth rock walls. Apart from that, there was nothing left, and Zhang Yang was feeling strange, because what he thought in his heart was different from what he heard and what he felt. At this moment, Zhang Yang felt a killing intent, and Zhang Yang found out the direction of the source of that murderous aura. There. Zhang Yang dodged the arrow shot towards him at once, and just when the arrow was about to stagger Zhang Yang stretched out his hand and grabbed the arrow body. This arrow, how strange. Zhang Yang was holding a snake-like arrow and muttering to himself. The arrow is like a frozen poisonous snake that has melted into ice at the moment. It bites at Zhang Yang when he opens his mouth. When Zhang Yang flinches his hand, he is bitten by the snake, and when Zhang Yang suffers, a flame in his hand burns the snake to dryness. Before Zhang Yang, who was clean and withdrew his hand, had time to look at his wound, Zhang Yang heard a huge number of whooshing sounds. This is not good. Zhang Yang gave a secret cry in his heart and hurriedly found a place to avoid, but this place was a flat land with no dead ends, so what should we do? Zhang Yang thought anxiously at this time. No way, try it. The desperate Zhang Yang hit his head with the absorbed fire, and the fire suddenly filled the sky, like throwing a bonfire on his head. A group of snake arrows in the sky were swallowed up, but Zhang Yang was not affected by this move. The power brought surprise, but observe the surrounding terrain. At this time, under the illumination of the fire, Zhang Yang found that there were people around with bows and snake arrows. It would be too far-fetched to say that they were people. Zhang Yang could see clearly that it was a snake face. Snake face like Orochimaru. And behind them is a pull-up fence gate. There are 8 such gates around, and several of them come out from each gate, forming a circle to surround Zhang Yang, and there is a dense group of such gates behind them. The snake-faced man, Zhang Yang's back was sweating instantly, and looking at the surrounding rock walls, there was nothing to borrow. At this moment, the flames almost disappeared, and Zhang Yang's face turned from ruddy to gray. Water escape and tread the waves. Zhang Yang's hands lit fire to illuminate the surroundings. Zhang Yang rushed towards a snake man who was about to shoot arrows at him. At the moment when the snake man was about to shoot, a huge wave emerged from under Zhang Yang's feet and washed away in front of him. All the snake people in front of you. Zhang Yang was stepping on a smaller wave behind this wave, and Zhang Yang's hands were shining on the wall inside the door to find another exit. Logically speaking, Zhang Yang must keep the gesture of making the seal after making the seal, otherwise the water will not take shape. At this time, Zhang Yang did not have the seal with both hands but was distracted to find the exit. After being burned to ashes with Amaterasu, the body has changed. At this time, Zhang Yang can already achieve the creation of the heart knot. Chapter 248 Guessing. Kakashi, I'm going in to find him, I must be with him. Naiko used a firm tone at the entrance of the cave, but Kakashi knew that if there was no blood on the stone, rushing in would only go around the labyrinth and come out. So Kakashi slowly approached Naiko, and Naiko saw Kakashi coming towards her and wanted to grab her. Naiko, who wanted to go in and look for Zhang Yang, rushed into the hole without looking back, and the card that was almost within reach. Casey was stunned, because everyone entered a different space, even a labyrinth without blood would enter a different time and space. Only by waiting for the entrance to come out by themselves, otherwise the external force alone cannot pull the entrance out. Although she was relieved that she was not a space where blood had entered, it was also a bit dangerous for a weak woman to enter the maze. Where's the guard here? At this time, Kakashi discovered that the entrance of the cave, which had always been guarded by guards, was empty today. At this time, Kakashi, who was careful, found that there was a messy footprint on the ground, so he put down Naiko's business first and followed his footsteps to find it. Not good. Kakashi saw the blood-drying guard lying on the ground lifelessly, and his eyes were wide open, showing an incredible look. Kakashi guessed that this person was frightened by some horror and was killed by a blow. Then Kakashi reached out and slowly closed the guard's eyes. Kakashi, what are you doing? Kakashi searched for the sound and looked back, and a kunai attacked from Kakashi's face, and Kakashi's body had already sensed the attack. The moment he turned his head, he turned over and jumped over to appear in front of the person who had just arrived. In front of everyone. Kakashi, if it wasn't for the guard's announcement, I never thought you would do such a thing. Kakashi took a closer look, and the person who attacked him with kunai was the guard next to Tsunade. At this time, he was looking at Kakashi with a look of alertness, and after Kakashi looked carefully, he was also surprised. Isn't that the guard who just died? Thinking of this, Kakashi knew that he was going to be framed, but he didn't know who it was. If you go to take down the body and confront this person, your rumors will be self-defeating. With that in mind, Kakashi said to everyone. This person is a man with ulterior motives. The guard who died just now is exactly like him. Let me take down the body and confront him. You traitor of Konoha, used a plan to lure Zhang Yang to death, and then deliberately told Naiko to let Naiko die together. In order to be safe, you replaced Zhang Yang's backpack and then killed the guard. Fortunately, I am not here today to guard the entrance of the cave. Or you will kill me. The wicked guard next to Tsunade complained first and said to Kakashi, and all this was heard, and Jiraiya said. Kakashi, say something, I still don't believe it. And Kakashi's best friend Kai said excitedly. Kakashi, I believe in you. hurry up and do something to prove yourself. Tsunade also looked at Kakashi suspiciously, and Kakashi immediately started to do it. He walked to the place just now to prepare to drag the corpse over to show everyone, and suddenly saw the corpse and a detonating talisman connected together. Get out of the way. I saw that Kakashi hadn't said it yet. The guard said to everyone first. Although Kakashi wanted to stop it, it was too late. The detonating talisman was detonated instantly, everyone lowered their bodies, and Kakashi also fled in the chaos. Seeing this situation, Tsunade shouted, "Don't run away." When the dust and mist after the explosion dissipated, everyone saw that the corpse had been blown clean, and Kakashi had fled, and everyone, except the guard, was a burst of disappointment. Sure enough, someone took advantage of the chaos to attack Konoha's people, but they couldn't find the reason. Kakashi hid not far away and watched the suspicious guard, thinking to himself, "Because I arrived first, I was targeted, and I, who failed to stop Nico's determination, were thought to deliberately let Nico enter to die and planned a plan for Jongyang to enter the trial ground, let Jongyang die, and then released a message saying that Jongyang she is dead, so Nico who knows it is also determined to find Jongyang." Kakashi carefully clarified his thoughts, and this idea is still tenable, because he and Jongyang have walked recently, and they want to use this pawn to cause all these difficulties, then start a riot, and then publish the news of Jongyang's death by himself. It is inevitable not to be criticized by others. One more thing, when the guard used the detonating talisman, he didn't have a seal, unless it wasn't his detonating talisman, otherwise it would be impossible to make it explode without a seal. Just seize the opportunity to see the corpse and cause it to be. Do you have the illusion of destroying your own body? Kakashi also understood things at that moment, so it must be unclear to them. It is better to wait for the opportunity and expose the person, but since the detonator was not his own, there must be other accomplices. It looks like I'm going to stay on the mountain for a while. It really feels like when I was in Anbu at that time. I'm watching on the mountain every day. Kakashi suddenly thought of something, did it all at once, and murmured in his mouth, "If the enemy deliberately spread the news, I'm afraid Nico won't come out alive." Thinking of this, Kakashi decided to see if there were bloodstains on the slate at night. If there was, it would really be a sinner through the ages, and more importantly, he did not keep his promise. Bastard! Why? Kakashi's anger slammed his fist into the stone behind him, and the stone split instantly. "Ah, I'm going, it hurts to death." After Jongyang jumped down, it stretched for a long distance before landing, and Jongyang was already on guard, but he didn't expect to be blocked by something. Jongyang thought he had arrived and relaxed his vigilance, but after buffering for a while, he continued to fall before the end. Jongyang rubbed his buttocks and got up from the ground, and slowly observed the surrounding terrain. Although it was a bit dark, it was not hidden. The preliminary judgment was that it was a place similar to a wine cellar. Jongyang also walked forward boldly, because this time there was finally something to cover, and there were barrels and stone walls and pillars all around, which made Jongyang no issue. "Isn't this TM2 pillars?" Seeing a sharp sword in the middle of the two pillars in front of him, Jongyang just glanced at it and hurried away. What he didn't know was that an earth-shaking change had taken place behind him. Every time Jongyang took a step, there was more space behind him. Part of it came out, and Jongyang, who came to the end, looked at the bland wall and wondered in his heart. "I didn't ask how long it was. I don't think it's been a century. It's not like some games where the plot will start after completing a certain mission." Thinking like this, Jongyang heard a cry. "Jongyang, where are you?" When Jongyang heard that it was Naizi's voice, he looked back in disbelief. Hallucinations occurred. Wait, why doesn't it feel right? At this time, Jongyang realized that the place behind him had become very long, which made Jongyang's face more cautious, while Jongyang watched the surroundings and slowly retreated. Chapter 249 The Elongated People. Strange. Why haven't you touched the wall for so long? Jongyang has already stepped back several steps. It stands to reason that the wall is where Jongyang can reach with his hand, but he didn't expect to walk several steps without touching the wall, which made Zhang Yang have a bad feeling in his heart. It won't be. Zhang Yang, who had the answer in his heart, looked back slowly, his face full of surprise. As expected, the wall behind was also pulled far away. At this moment, Zhang Yang's heart was pounding. If something popped up, he would definitely be attacked by the enemy, and the vast area was still so dark, and he would definitely suffer. Tsunade-sama, what do you think this is? At this time, the guard who identified Kakashi as a traitor pointed to the fresh blood on the slate, and the trace of a sinister smile on his face was faintly taken away. After Tsunade heard it, he no longer stayed in place, and Jiraiya, when they came to the stone slab together, their eyes widened. This is Nico's. Jiraiya and the others fell silent again, while Tsunade slumped on the ground and said, I didn't realize that Kakashi was a latent traitor, and as a Hokage, I couldn't even protect the lives of my 2 children. What qualifications do I have to lead you? Hey, Tsunade, now is not the time to give up, don't be so discouraged. Jiraiya was also comforting Tsunade while Naruto suffered successive blows and had made a decision. Regardless of whether you have anyone to protect, I know that if I can't find Nico back, I've lost the power to protect anyone. Everyone watched Naruto walk slowly towards the stone slab, while Kai stepped forward to stop Naruto, and Jiraiya shouted to Naruto. Naruto, now is not the time to be fooling around. And Tsunade looked at Naruto, who went his own way. At this time, Tsunade stood up and returned to his former sharp eyes and said to Jiraiya. That's right, Naruto is right, if you don't get back what you lost, you'll lose the right to protect important people. Even a child has this kind of awareness. As a Hokage, it can't be compared by a child. Seeing Tsunade figure it out, Jiraiya suddenly relaxed a little, turned and walked over to squat down and face Naruto. We will have a solution, but your recklessness will only make us more sad. If we don't think of a good solution, it will be useless for all of us to go in. What do you say, Naruto? And Naruto also stopped, looking at the smiling Jiraiya in front of him. The tears in his eyes couldn't stop any longer, and he was crying while holding Jiraiya. Hey, don't get your snot on me, idiot. Even so, Jiraiya still touched Naruto's head, making him cry all the time on his own. I'm going, this is a fart. After groping all the way, Zhang Yang discovered a strange thing. As long as he turned around, the space behind him would be extended, and this truth was realized after Zhang Yang expanded the space to infinity. Damn, I didn't expect it to be like this. You can't go back except to choose a direction to run. Zhang Yang suddenly remembered stepping back. If he didn't turn around and just stepped back, wouldn't he not extend the space? So Zhang Yang chose a bright place to run, but he thought he was running too slowly, so he made a seal. Water escape and tread the waves. Zhang Yang continued to light up the surroundings with flames on his hands, and his speed on the waves was 4 times that of his usual running, so it took Zhang Yang a while to reach the bright spot. There's a button here. According to the urine nature of this system, something will probably happen, but if you don't press it, nothing will change. Never mind, try. After Zhang Yang hesitated, he directly pressed the square button, thinking that some hidden weapon beasts would come out. Suddenly the surroundings suddenly brightened, the entire dark elongated wine cellar instantly became taller, the bright floor and the ceiling, and strangely Zhang Yang couldn't find where the glowing object was. This time it's a lot more open, but TMD still looks awesome. In the end, Zhang Yang had to compromise slowly. At this time, Tsunade led the crowd away, and Jiraiya also used an excuse to catch Kakashi, but it was actually because of Tsunade's order. How I wish this was all a dream. Tsunade couldn't help sighing on the road, and everyone in Sakura saw Tsunade's lost expression and went to comfort him. Of course, all of this seemed to be in the guard's plan. Night has also fallen. Kakashi already knows the result. Nico definitely used her own blood, and it was definitely the enemy who told her, which made Kakashi's heart ignite a fire. Why didn't even a child be spared? But Kakashi still has to check it out. If there is a solution, he will be able to rescue Neko more easily and expose the lie. Ouch, I wipe. At this time, in the transparent cellar all around, a group of snake men were chasing Zhang Yang continuously, and Zhang Yang just kept running, ignoring the snake arrows behind him. Zhang Yang looked back, and immediately regretted that he should not press anything indiscriminately. At this time, it was too late to say anything, and 3,000 snake arrows immediately shot at Zhang Yang in a surrounding shape. Ninja Water Curtain. Zhang Yang was in a hurry, and after quickly forming the seal, he blocked the water curtain in front of him, and the snake arrows shot in it also bounced out and shot at the front snake people. At this time, Zhang Yang thought of a crooked idea to expand the water curtain. Let them think they are behind the water curtain, and then they can escape. It's a pity that this idea didn't start to be practiced for a long time. Zhang Yang ran for a while and found that the snake man was chasing up again. Zhang Yang scolded as he ran. This TM is still smart, not stupid. Looking at the chasing soldiers behind, Zhang Yang couldn't help speeding up the flow of chakra, and controlled the waves below to go faster. Crack. Wait, it hurts. When Zhang Yang turned his head to the back, his speed increased, and unknowingly he came to the front of the wall and bumped into it. Zhang Yang rubbed his head and stood up. I wipe, so fast. When looking at it carefully, Zhang Yang had to feel his own shit luck again. On purpose. Why did you press another button? At this time, the button was also slowly sinking under the pressure. The deeper the sinking, the louder the sound of a chain, and the snake people behind seemed to sense something, so they stopped chasing, put down their weapons, and waiting for something. Zhang Yang was shocked when he saw the scene. I'm rubbing it. This posture is to play the rhythm of the boss. Chapter 250 Joining Forces. Caught you. Kakashi was about to look on the stone beside the hole, but he didn't expect a voice from behind. Kakashi looked back in surprise, and a man with long white hair appeared in front of him. July also. Kakashi, I know you have something to hide. I don't believe you are a traitor. Jiraiya said seriously to Kakashi, who was under Gecko, and Kakashi slowly turned around, threw away the kunai that he had just held in his hand, and faced Jiraiya. I hope you believe me. I will find out the real culprit. After listening to Jiraiya, he slowly took out a scroll from his arms. Kakashi thought that Jiraiya would also do something, and asked with a serious face. Jiraiya, must this be the case? Kakashi, it's not that I don't believe you, but this time it's really weird. You go back with me and explain it to Master Tsunade. I believe she will be on your side. Gee lie, don't you understand now that there's an inner ghost among us, and if I go back, I won't be able to find his tail. Jiraiya looked at Kakashi, and Kakashi's only exposed eyes also looked at Jiraiya, and he had proved that he was not lying. After a long time, the cool mountain wind blew their hair. Jiraiya, his hair shook for a long time, and he was the first to break the silence. Then tell me, what are you going to do? Seeing that Jiraiya chose to believe in himself, Kakashi's expression relaxed a little, and he took out a plan and handed it to Jiraiya. After Jiraiya took it, he found that it was a plan drawing around a cave. Kakashi, who are you? This is a bird's eye view near the entrance of this cave. Look, if I want to kill this guard, I will attack from the front, and I will definitely leave fighting marks or bloodstains, and besides Niko's bloodstains, do you see anything else at that location? In order to prove that what Kakashi said was true, Jiraiya stepped forward and used the toad night vision he cultivated to look around carefully, and found that the situation was consistent with what Kakashi said, and Kakashi behind him continued. Also, I found this guard in the back, and I found something unusual when I searched today. Hearing Kakashi paused, Jiraiya turned back and asked in confusion. Oh, what anomaly. I found Orochimaru's slime. Jiraiya, Orochimaru's nemesis, knew this perfectly, but he continued to ask. How do you know the slime must be Orochimaru? Because there are chakra residues in his mucus. I can clearly feel his chakra breath. Jiraiya's heart sank for a while. He walked in the direction Kakashi pointed, crouched down and sniffed around the grass, then stood up and said, "Although it is very faint, it really is the smell of Orochimaru's chakra, and I still remember the detonating charm that exploded today. That is not the kind of detonating charm of our Konoha." Kakashi covered his face, as if things were getting more and more troublesome. At this time, Jirai also stepped down and patted Kakashi's shoulder relaxedly. In fact, he had long known that Kakashi was not a traitor. The words are just to hope that the original words will be passed on to Tsunade. Because he didn't bring anything back, he told Tsunade that he saw Kakashi but didn't catch him, which would make him a traitor, and Jirai also didn't want Tsunade to do anything for him. He sacrificed to save himself, but Kakashi's next words made Jiraiya see a better solution. "Senior Jiraiya, I am now outside in the name of betrayal and forbearance, and you are inside, and the inner ghost will definitely stabilize for a long time before appearing, but we can't wait that long, and we can only take the initiative to lead the inner ghost out." Jiraiya put a check on his face with his hands, thought for a while, and continued to ask. "You keep saying, what am I going to do?" Kakashi paused, and the serious expression returned to his face again. "They just wanted Jongyang and Nizi to die, but Jongyang is dead now, and Nizi didn't go in for a long time. It stands to reason that as long as my blood covers her blood, she will enter the cave, but another person is needed to help stabilize the cave space. When I rescue Naiko, the inner ghost will attack, then we will be ambushed around, and we will be able to catch the inner ghost." After listening to it, Jiraiya couldn't help but admire the wisdom of the genius of Konoha, and then smiled. "Kakashi, just say it when you need me. I don't agree to let an inner ghost teach bad Tsunade, ha ha ha." Hearing Jiraiya's hearty smile, Kakashi also relaxed a lot. It seems that Jirai also chose to believe in himself from the beginning, and Kakashi couldn't help but smile bitterly at his own face. "Are you ready?" Seeing that Kakashi bit his finger and dripped blood on the still dry slate, Jiraiya also got ready to start, raising his hands slowly, as if he was racing faster. "Senior Jiraiya, I'm ready." "Okay, it's now." Jiraiya's hands were changing with different complex patterns, and at this time Kakashi's attention was in the cave. As long as Jiraiya shouted, he would rush in immediately. "Kakashi." After Jiraiya completed the seal with both hands, he fell down with one hand, and made a compass drawn on the ground with strange characters around his hand. At this time, there was a green light emitting dimension hole in the hole. Kakashi jumped in without any drag. If I hadn't turned on the immortal mode myself, I wouldn't be able to use this forbidden technique. Go back and have a good rest today. Kakashi, you must come out. Jirai, who became one word, also stood up hard, and slowly recovered his normal eyes. Opening the time and space disorder is a very chakra and physical task. Although there was only a few tenths of a second to open, but this has already been done. It is to open the limit of the immortal mode Jiraiya. Not to mention that ordinary people can't open the door to time-space disorder. Even the 3 generations of Hokage who are proficient in various ninjutsu and 5 attribute chakras can't open a little bit with all their strength. Jirai is also quite proud of this. Jongyang, where are you? Answer me. At this time, Naiko was exploring in the empty black hole. Apart from the sound of her own footsteps and shouts, there was only the sound of dripping water. Jongyang, please answer me, it's so dark here. It's so cold. Naiko, who rushed in impulsive, realized that she was too stupid, she knew nothing, and she didn't know where Jongyang was, but when she came in, she ruined herself. Now she can't see anything clearly because she has been inside for 3 days and 3 nights. Even though it's only been 1 night outside. Tut-tug, tug-tug, tadata. Suddenly there was a sound similar to the sound of footsteps in front of her. Asako was getting closer and closer, and Naiko, who was scared and helpless, became even more fearful at this time. She deeply realized that no one would come to save her, and she was doomed. Chapter 251 Find Naiko. And at this moment, she knew that the person who came to tell her the news was to make up a lie to make her die. At this moment, Naiko held a corner of the clothes that Jongyang gave her when she left, and hid in a place where she didn't know if it was a corner or not. Shivering, waiting for death to come. On Zhang Yang's side, there was a person who was served by the leader. He said it was a person, but Zhang Yang didn't know, because this person was wearing a robe similar to a sacrifice, and the hat at the back covered the person's entire head. Want to rant? This TM can see me too. You don't have to talk about acting like this on TV, okay? The surrounding snake people bowed their heads and declared themselves ministers, all kneeling on the ground to worship this sacrifice. Stop. At this time, the scene of being kneeled and worshipped by thousands of snake people made Zhang Yang, who was shocked, react after hearing the sound. Damn, you can actually talk. I saw that all the snake people around looked up at Zhang Yang for a moment. The echoes in the empty wine cellar spread farther and farther, and the snake people heard behind also slowly raised their heads and looked at Zhang Yang. And Zhang Yang was also very flustered by the glares of these eyes, and other ordinary people might have fainted, especially those with intensive phobia. Those are thousands of pairs of cool snake eyes staring at you. Don't be afraid. You are just arrogant. The sacrifice slowly raised his head and spoke in a strange accent to Zhang Yang, who was not far from him, but Zhang Yang almost didn't cry when he saw his face, because the person in front of Zhang Yang was also a snake man, and what shocked Zhang Yang even more was that, half of this snake man's face seemed to be melted, looking normal and terrifying at the same time. Dare to ask your excellency. Although his heart was pounding, he still couldn't lose on the surface, and he asked the half-faced snake man on the opposite side with a trembling mouth. Today I will let you understand, I am a clone of Orochimaru, but I have not escaped sanctions and was locked in it, and a few days ago, Orochimaru told me through my mind that if I killed a child named Zhang Yang, take the Rinnegan from him and Orochimaru will let me out. Zhang Yang heard that Orochimaru was making trouble again, and now he still wanted to kill himself, and he couldn't help but burn his anger, and he should not make a fuss. With a wave of the half-faced snake man's hand, a group of snake men slowly stood up. That good weapon, bypassed the half-face. The snake man rushed towards Zhang Yang, and Zhang Yang was not a vegetarian, and faced the snakes. Try this. When Zhang Yang threw the bottle of oil in his back over the snake man, the fire in his hand suddenly burst out. Zhang Yang aimed at the air and fired 3 bursts of fireballs. Suddenly, a huge sea of flames covered the densely packed snake man, including the inside. Half-faced snake man. Want to kill labor? Speak up and say your love. Zhang Yang sneered at the snake man, who was about to be suppressed by the flame, and the snake man below also felt the heat of the flame, and suddenly made a mess, running and screaming. Tips for carving bugs. Just when Zhang Yang was complacent, Zhang Yang's huge sea of fire was instantly eliminated, and the snake man who was rolling and fleeing on the ground stopped suddenly. Zhang Yang looked at the half-faced snake man, who put down his hand and refreshed his cognition instantly. It's so easy. Why don't you give me a face? Seeing that his flames were dissipated in an instant, Zhang Yang knew in his heart that this was not at the same level as himself, and he didn't know whether it was a win-win situation or a win-win situation. Anyway, the mission in this level is to escape, so I'll just run away. Zhang Yang thought so in his heart, but he had already summoned the wave-treading technique and ran a long way. The snake people behind saw Zhang Yang running away, and immediately caught up with him angrily. People are like hunting, but what Zhang Yang is thinking about at this time is how to escape further. After Kakashi jumped into the gate of time and space opened by Jiraiya, there was darkness in front of him, and he was landing. Kakashi adjusted his balance and jumped on the ground with a short squat followed by a roll to reduce the impact of jumping down. I swore I would never come again, but I didn't expect to come back now. It's a trick of fate. After Kakashi jumped down and smelled the familiar smell, he secretly said helplessly, because he smelled the smell of the first haunting monster he met when he first came in. To tell the truth, I never want to touch this kind of monster, but it came in and gave me a surprise. Since there is no way to escape, don't let it rise. Kakashi held the dagger in his hand, closed his eyes and walked towards the darkness, because this monster has to rely on smell to find, because what he saw was his clone, to defeat them only to find the main body, smell this disgusting smell." Kakashi walked cautiously all the way. "What does it taste like?" Kakashi was concentrating on smelling the smell to find the body of this monster, but at this time, he smelled a trace of human breath. To be precise, he heard the breathing sound of someone who wanted to breathe but did not dare to breathe. Kakashi was overjoyed. Could it be Nico? So Kakashi quickened his pace and walked towards the sound of breathing. Hearing the sound of breathing getting closer, Kakashi had a bad premonition, because the smell of the monster he smelled was getting heavier and heavier, and the sound of a person's breathing was right next to the monster. If nothing happened, it was about to happen. Problem occurs. When it was too late, Kakashi picked up the dagger and hit the monster's direction. As the dagger flew out, Kakashi launched a ninjutsu against the dagger. Ninja Fire Dragon Technique. I saw a powerful chakra emerging from the dagger, and a mass of flames shot by Kakashi ignited the dagger, instantly illuminating the surroundings. Kakashi quickly looked for the location of the breath and the location of the sound. Soon, Kakashi found Nico shivering in the corner. At this time, she was looking at the monster in front of her in horror and didn't know what to do when a burst of fire caught the eye of the monster and Nico. Nico, who was originally desperate, found out that it was Kakashi, immediately stood up and shouted to Kakashi. "Kakashi." The monster seemed to be able to tell the difference between strength and weakness. Seeing that Kakashi was coming towards him, he was about to reach out and grab Nico, who stood up. When Kakashi saw something was wrong, he shouted in that direction. "Princess Nico, get down." Nico, who had reacted, saw the claws were close at hand, the pupils in her eyes shrank instantly, and she closed her eyes in fear. Instant Flying Thunder God Technique. Just when the monster was about to catch Nico, a figure flashed by, and together with Nico, disappeared under the claws of the monster in an instant, and the monster threw its empty hand on the stone next to it, smashing the stone to pieces, together with the side. There was also a deep scratch on the stone wall above. Chapter 252 Meeting. Nico, who was rescued, saw the scene from a distance, and thought with lingering fears, if she slapped herself on the body, I'm afraid her whole head would be beaten off. "I thought I would waste a lot of energy to save you, but I didn't expect that I would catch up." Seeing Kakashi smiling at himself, he felt guilty for not listening to him and barged in alone, causing Kakashi to come in now to save himself, thinking in his heart, and opening his mouth to thank him. "Kakashi-senpai, Haha, don't talk about it for now, save it for later, the most important thing now is this guy, wait for me to solve him before continuing the topic." After he finished speaking, he stared at the angry rushing monster, and the flames at this time were about to burn out. The two ninjutsus just now cost Kakashi a lot of chakra, and this monster must be solved before the fire is over. Otherwise, it will be more difficult to protect this child and fight in the dark. Shadow Clone Technique. Several of Kakashi appeared around Kakashi and rushed towards the monster, while Kakashi himself made a seal on the spot, only to see the monster stopped and hit Kakashi's clone. Huo Dunhao Fireball Technique. The last Kakashi cloned monster that had just finished fighting suddenly felt a threatening heat coming towards him. It's too slow to react, goodbye. When the monster just reacted, it was surrounded by fireballs shot by Kakashi, and the whole body was burned by fire. Seeing the monster burn to ashes, Kakashi squatted down and gasped because of this. The battle cost him a lot of chakra. I am not a marine chakra constitution like Naruto and Jongyang. As a normal ninja, Kakashi has surpassed others. With these super chakra consuming ninjutsu, Kakashi needs to rest in place. After a while, Nico went up to offer her condolences worriedly, and Kakashi only said one sentence. Wait until I have a good rest before discussing. Nico also obediently shut up, sitting on the ground and looking at Kakashi. By the way, she wanted to ask Kakashi if she could perceive the existence of Jongyang, because Nico always felt that Jongyang was not dead, and she always believed in her own feeling. Why hasn't the time come yet? I'm almost dying. Jongyang was chased and blocked by waves of snake people. The waves on the soles of his feet became smaller and smaller, and the speed became slower and slower. The remaining chakras in Zhang Yang's body were almost used up, and the chakras that had been released were here. The chaotic space is blocked, unless it is publicized, or the chakras that are released from the seal will not be obtained. It's going to be troublesome now, I'm a little overwhelmed. Zhang Yang also stopped simply, and the snake people behind and in front also stopped. The half-faced snake people slowly walked out of the snake people, and the snake people on both sides gave him the aisle. Catch this kid alive for me, I will study the structure of this kid. After the snake people obeyed the order, they surrounded Zhang Yang, who was paralyzed on the ground, and pushed towards Zhang Yang step by step, while Zhang Yang also gritted his teeth and looked at the half-faced snake man, but he couldn't do anything, just hear. At that time, a voice in the air instantly made Zhang Yang see hope. There are 10 seconds left, the door trial is about to end. Haha, God help me too. The half-faced snake man seemed to have heard this voice before, looked up at the sky in disgust, then changed his leisurely posture and shouted in an anxious tone. Catch this kid. The snake people around heard I saw and rushed towards Zhang Yang like crazy, saying that it was too late. Zhang Yang had a plan in his mind, and extended the snake people who came to him so far, taking himself as the center, and reaching out to him. Constantly looking around and changing directions. 8. Zhang Yang counted silently in his heart. As long as he got rid of all the enemies, he would have a chance to pass the test, and Zhang Yang was using the spatial characteristics of this wine cellar. The space is infinitely extended, and Zhang Yang used this method to extend the half-faced snake and a group of snakes, while he was still in place. The next thing is to wait. Zhang Yang counted silently in his heart, but the good times did not last long. The snake man became a prototype, no longer walking on his feet, but crawling over with snake tails, and the half-faced snake man in red robe was the first to lead a group of snakes. People came running from behind. 7. Quote. Zhang Yang looked at the rushing snake people, and he was also nervously counting silently in his heart. If Zhang Yang moved now, the silent counting time would be lost, and he was not sure how long he could last. On the other side, Kakashi recovered almost, and asked Nico who was on the side to follow him. Nico, who was waiting, wanted to ask for a long time. Seeing that Kakashi said he was leaving, he hurriedly asked. Kakashi-senpai, where is this going? I'll take you out with me. Nico took a few steps back, shook her head at Kakashi, and lowered her head. I thank you very much for your ability to save me, but I must find him for Zhang Yang. No matter life or death, I must be with him. Seeing Nico being so determined, Kakashi also turned around, walked slowly towards Nico, raised her arms to face Nico, and Nico thought Kakashi was going to hit her, so she closed her eyes tremblingly and waited for Kakashi's slap. But after a while, Nico realized that Kakashi's slap didn't come up, so she carefully opened her eyes and found that Kakashi had lit up the surroundings, and what appeared in front of her was a huge grotto. With 3 fingers hanging in the air in front of her, Nico asked in confusion. Senior, who are you? Kakashi put down his fingers and said softly to the poor girl in front of him. Let's go, you can't find him alone. And Nico didn't believe her ears. She didn't expect Kakashi to help her like this, and the tears in her eyes gradually left as she cried. Why are you helping me? Because after you come to Konoha, I have the responsibility to protect your safety. It is my responsibility, and we are also a group. I am not good at acting alone, so, believe in me, senior, let's go out together. Here before, let's go out first, and then we'll find a way to come in and find Zhang Yang. Quote. Senior, I appreciate your kindness, but I must find him. Your kindness, I will. Before Nico finished speaking, Kakashi made a shush gesture to signal Nico to stop talking. Kakashi's shadow swayed under the light of the lights. After a long time, the silent Kakashi turned and walked away. And Nico's heart was a little more relaxed, because Kakashi didn't insist on going with him to find Zhang Yang, so he continued. Chapter 253 Meet Zhang Yang. I'm terrified of you coming in to save me, thank you. Kakashi suddenly stopped and asked. What do you mean by that? If you don't follow me, I'll take you to find Jongyang, and then we'll go out together. Naiko was stunned after hearing this. She didn't expect Kakashi to say such a thing. Then she threw herself on Kakashi, who was a head taller than him, and cried. Kakashi saw her like this and touched her. Naiko's head, like a father comforting his child. Cry enough, haha, then let's go. This made Naiko embarrassed to wipe her tears, and then she smiled embarrassedly at Kakashi. Seeing that Naiko's mood was almost better, Kakashi also patted her shoulder with relief and said. Let's go, no matter what's ahead, we'll take Jongyang back. Naiko also firmly answered Kakashi's words, and the two soon disappeared into the depths of the swaying cave, leaving only the shadows that grew longer and longer and the sound of burning flames. 5. Jongyang was counting alone, and the army of snake men on the opposite side was less than 10 meters away from Jongyang. 4. Hurry up. Jongyang saw that the snake people had raised their bows and were about to shoot at him. 3. See if you can hold off with a little chakra. The snake arrow of the snake man was already flying towards Jongyang in the air, and the speed was much faster than when he was chasing him just now, and Jongyang was using the last bit of chakra to resist the attack of the first snake arrow. 2. There is hope. Jongyang saw a very huge dimensional gate slowly appearing in the distance. Jongyang knew that this was the exit, so he used the fire in his body as fuel to push himself over. Don't try to succeed. I saw the half-faced snake man wave his hands, causing the surrounding air to become chaotic, and the airflow in the air became restless, and Jongyang, who was flying by the flames in the air, was also greatly affected. The air was so stirred that it flew everywhere, and Jongyang also cursed inwardly. Fuck you, NPCs only, why are you dragging them? After scolding, he also started to restore balance, and at this time, the number of seconds had reached 1, and Jongyang saw that the dimension gate actually began to decline at a speed that he could see. Nima, you didn't tell me that it will be closed in a second. What a fool. Jongyang just thought in his heart, if he really wanted to scold him, he might have fallen off, and at this time, Jongyang gradually grasped the balance and flew towards the dimension gate. Bella. There was a sound in front of Jongyang, like the sound of electric current, and a group of snake people were covered by a huge electric current over there. After the electric current ended, 2 figures appeared beside the snake people's corpse over there. Jongyang was flying at high speed, and before he could take a closer look, he heard a voice. Senior, what are these? Will Jongyang be given this kind of thing? Naizi, don't cry, these ordinary trash fish can't give that kid a headache. He is someone who can even fight Itachi, but if he runs out of chakra. After the two of them finished speaking, they only heard bursts of sobbing, and the expression on Jongyang's face was very complicated. This voice, is it? At the moment when Jongyang touched the shrinking dimension gate, he heard another person speak. Okay, Naiko, retreat now and go to other places to see if you can find Jongyang. Wait a minute. Jongyang, who landed, shouted in that direction, while the half-faced snake man in the back was still gritting his teeth in remorse a second ago, but the next second he was overjoyed and hurriedly ordered. Catch Jongyang. The snake man didn't hesitate to strike like a machine in an instant, but Jongyang ran towards the two of them with the strength he didn't know where. He shouted. Naiko, Kakashi-senpai, I'm here. When the two people in front heard the voice, they looked at Jongyang all of a sudden. Seeing Jongyang running towards him, Naiko looked in disbelief. She didn't believe that Jongyang was still alive. Living. Naizi, no, there is a lot of danger here, and I don't know if he is really flamboyant, we should be careful. But Naiko, who saw Jongyang, believed that it was him. He broke free from Kakashi and ran towards Jongyang regardless of the objection, while Jongyang sprinted and hugged Naiko. Kakashi felt a tightness in his heart. If he wanted to kill Naiko at this time, he had already stopped him. Not anymore. Unexpectedly, the two were unwilling to separate for a long time after hugging each other. Seeing Naiko's tears of joy and satisfaction, Kakashi knew that he had found Jongyang. At this time, a snake arrow shot at the two, and Kakashi shouted, "Danger! Get out of the way!" After Jongyang saw the snake arrow, he also wanted to put Naiko behind him and help her stop the damage, but Naiko just hugged Jongyang tightly and didn't let go. Jongyang seemed to realize something and wanted to break free from Naiko's arms like crazy. But Naiko didn't let go, just said something softly in her ear. "This time, you should worry about me. I don't want to see you hurt again." Jongyang looked at Naiko with dry tears and shouted in disbelief, "No." Kakashi also wanted to use Kamui to save the two, but an overwhelming snake arrow appeared behind him, and he suddenly discovered his powerlessness. The black flame that burst out suddenly blocked the first snake arrow, and the snake arrow that touched it instantly turned into dust, and Kakashi looked at the source of the flame in shock. In Jongyang's arms, he was not hurt by a trace of flame, but was wrapped in flames like Jongyang. This is the materialization of Amaterasu. Looking at the flame in front of him, the knowledgeable Kakashi naturally knew that this flame was released by Amaterasu, whom Itachi had never arrived at. And it was done by a child, which surprised Kakashi. What was it that gave this child such an amazing talent? After seeing the snake arrows being swallowed up by the flaming flames, the half-faced snake man also changed from a surprised expression to a surprised expression, and he stepped back step by step while muttering to himself, as if he was very afraid of this thing, and the snake people saw he was about to leave, and he also stepped back. "Whoever insults my wife, die." In an instant, the black flame was like leaking gas. As the air spread around, the naked eye couldn't catch its speed. After the snake man who had no time to run was swallowed up by the flame, nothing was left, and the black flame immediately affected more than half of the snakes. People, Kakashi is also amazed at the potential of publicity. "The sixth gate has passed, please rest for a while." A voice that penetrated the ancient times resounded throughout the wine cellar, and apart from Jongyang and Naiko Kakashi, there was nothing left on the ground. Chapter 254 Plan to Escape. It was as if nothing had happened just now. If there were no traces of fighting, Jongyang would have thought it was a dream. Jongyang, who had extinguished the black fire, hugged Naiko in his arms, and Naiko looked at him excitedly at this time, and Kakashi on the side interrupted in time. "Cough, although it's embarrassing to say this now, I still want to say, should we go out first and then catch up?" The two who were interrupted by Kakashi looked at Isho. Jongyang also slowly pulled Naiko to stand up and smiled at Kakashi. "Thank you, senior, but why did you come in so suddenly to find me?" Kakashi covered his head with his hands helplessly and shook his head. "It's a long story, but in short, after you came in, I sensed that you were dead, and then someone told the child your news and told her how to get in." Kakashi paused, looking at Jongyang hating Nizi, but he was instantly resolved by the pitiful Nizi. Jongyang also sighed and said to Kakashi, "And then what? How did you get in, and they? Why are you alone?" Kakashi knew that Jongyang would ask this, so he continued. "It turns out that it was fake to let you in for the trial. Although Tsunade proposed this proposal, I just felt that she was bewitched. After Naiko went in, I was framed because I killed the two of you, and what happened next is also Naiko. I see, Jiraiya helped me in and found Naiko. Then what's next, Kakashi-senpai?" Jongyang knew that this matter was not that simple and could not be explained clearly in a few words, so he asked Kakashi about his plans, and Kakashi said to the two seriously, "We are in another dimension now. The main thing now is to find a way to get out, and then let Naiko go back first, and you and I will squat and catch the inner ghost. Well, but that's something else, we have to go out first and then talk about it." Quote. "Well, I see. If I want to go out, I have a way to try it." Kakashi heard Jongyang say there is a way, and hurriedly asked, "In what way? Did you hear that strange noise just now? You mean that voice that can't see anyone but resounds through this place?" Jongyang nodded to Kakashi and continued, "It's up to him." Just when Kakashi and Naiko were confused, the voice sounded again. "The seventh door, open, return quickly." Jongyang quickly grabbed the hands of the two and told them, "Don't let it go, or we won't be able to go out together. Naiko nodded obediently. As long as there was a place for Jongyang, she was very at ease, and Kakashi also chose to believe in Jongyang. Just as the three of them were ready, Jongyang and others were sucked into time and space, and Jongyang suddenly lost his focus. The hands tightly grasped the two of them, and because the suction was too strong, the two on one side also fell in. The only thing that did not change was that the hands of the three were firmly grasped together. What? You said Kakashi went into? Tsunade looked at what Jiraiya said to him in disbelief, and Jiraiya also looked at Tsunade. It's true, I saw it with my own eyes, and what? Hearing that there was something in Jiraiya's words, Tsunade hurriedly asked. She didn't believe that Kakashi was a traitor, and Jiraiya's pause at this moment also gave Tsunade hope. And I let him go. Jiraiya also said this very gently, as if it was normal to eat, and at this moment Tsunade wanted to get angry, but he suppressed his anger and signaled Jiraiya to continue speaking. Kakashi is saving Konoha, and there are ghosts among us. Do you understand when I say this? When Tsunade heard this, the expression on his face took a 180-degree turn, and his angry face was replaced by calm thinking. I've never seen that guard look like that, and Kakashi has been in Konoha since he was a child, and he was once an elite of Anbu. Besides, according to what I know about him, he will not defect, and if he ran away that day, it was in his heart. Did it create an illusion to the enemy? Jiraiya also looked at Tsunade, who was thinking, and calmed down, looking at her with an admiring look, but Tsunade recovered and found that Jiraiya was also looking at him with an unpredictable look, and suddenly became red. The face gave Jiraiya a punch. You bastard! Go to hell! Jiraiya was also hit with gold stars by this punch. He couldn't find the east, west, northwest, and he accidentally stepped on the air. He fell down instantly. Tsunade wanted to laugh and sigh when he saw him like this. Hey, I will find out the truth, Kakashi. At the same time, Kakashi sneezed and said to the side. Kakashi-senpai, what's wrong? It's okay, just a sudden sneeze. In fact, Kakashi himself is quite concerned about why he sneezed suddenly, but compared to this small thing, the scene in front of him is the big thing. There was a cold and humid air around, and Jongyang didn't care, and quickly took out the clothes in the backpack for the two of them to wear. Only then did Kakashi realize that the 2 bottles of kerosene were still there, and hurriedly turned over Jongyang's back. On the package confirmation. And Jongyang suddenly smiled inexplicably. Naizi thought something happened to Jongyang, and hurriedly pinched Jongyang's face. Jongyang held Naizi's hand. I'm fine, I'm just laughing at what Kakashi-sensei was looking for has already been eaten by me. Kakashi looked at Jongyang Dao in surprise. You know what I'm looking for. Kerosene, 2 bottles of kerosene. At this time, Jongyang played his pretentious nature again, and said proudly to Kakashi, but Naiko heard that the kerosene was eaten by Jongyang, and hurriedly pulled Jongyang and asked. It's okay, how are you feeling now? Seeing Naiko holding her hand and worrying to death, the warmth in Jongyang's heart came spontaneously, but the good times didn't last long, and Kakashi disrupted the situation again. Would he still joke with you like that if something happened? The exposed Jongyang gave Kakashi a roll of eyes, while Naiko beat Jongyang's chest. How bad are you? I'm ignoring you. Okay, I was wrong, okay. Seeing that Jongyang and Naizi were crooked again, Kakashi really doubted whether he was here to save people or to be a light bulb. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. 7 trials, open. Jongyang reflexively pulled Naiko away. He knew in his heart that something was going to happen, and before everyone could move, the voice said again. Chapter 255 The Trial of the 7th Gate. Fight with the strongest man, never die. The surrounding fire suddenly all ignited, and the whole venue suddenly became brighter, and Jongyang pulled Naiko to slowly approach Kakashi, while Kakashi was paying attention to this similar to the one inside the Colosseum and directly opposite them. The big gate, the height of the gate is almost 10 stories high. What kind of person has such a height? Naiko said uncomfortably on the side, Although she was very scared in her heart, she didn't show it. She just held Zhang Yang's left hand tightly, and Zhang Yang also, judging from the words and Nico's performance of grabbing his own hand, she must be very worried. Afraid, so comforted. It's okay, the higher the better we can hit him, but he can't hit us. You think he's blind? Zhang Yang clearly wanted to comfort him, but he didn't expect Kakashi to complain again, and Nico's hand that had just relaxed a little bit suddenly grabbed it tightly. Zhang Yang looked at Kakashi as if he was innocent with hatred on his face. Click. The sound of something breaking in the door stopped the three people's words suddenly. Nico grabbed Zhang Yang's arm more nervously. If it were normal, Zhang Yang would definitely push her away and scream, but Zhang Yang understood. If she did this by herself, Nico would definitely be more uneasy and insecure. So Zhang Yang endured the pain. When he didn't have this hand, Kakashi didn't have time to take care of the situation of the two. He stared straight at the door, thinking in his heart. As soon as he comes out, I will send him back with Kamui. But since that sound, there has been no movement inside, and Zhang Yang has been waiting for so long, and he is a little uneasy. After all, his combat experience is not as much as Kakashi's. Zhang Yang, who wants to take a preemptive shot, has just taken a step, and the door will start. There were various roars, and Kakashi hurriedly stopped Zhang Yangdao. The thing in here is listening to our footsteps, it has just woken up, he is waiting for our voice. Zhang Yang didn't expect the things inside to have this kind of wisdom, and was very annoyed by the step he took, but he still asked Nico to step back down, and confronted the two of them behind. Come on, we must all get out alive. Haha, don't worry, my mission is to take you out. Okay, I won't hurt you. Hearing the affirmative reply from the two, Nico felt relieved, but she still held the corner of the clothes that Zhang Yang gave her before leaving. The door opened at once, and the door panel was flung to other places by a strange force. Zhang Yang and Kakashi looked at the person in front of them. To be precise, Kakashi did not notice that this person had a heartbeat or any other features. Just wait for that thing to come out. The two suddenly realized that it turned out to be a human-like robot. The robot with steam on its face jumped towards the two of them. Zhang Yang calculated that the Colosseum was about the size of 3 football fields, and he could see clearly. It was not easy to be a robot. Unexpectedly, he was almost half the distance away in one jump. Kakashi was afraid that it would affect the two here, so he said to Zhang Yang. Protect Princess Nico, I will go forward to fight. Without waiting for Zhang Yang to speak, Kakashi rushed over in an instant, and shouted in midair. Nympha G Sax. I saw a cloth bag rising from the surface of the ground and instantly surrounded the robot, just like a bag containing a thing, and Kakashi stood on the top of the pocket and quickly made a seal, and then patted it down. The cloth bag that rose up on the ground exploded from the inside in an instant, and the fire inside was soaring into the sky, and Kakashi jumped down and was on guard near the two of Zhang Yang. The sound was gone. Kakashi-senpai, isn't it? Before Zhang Yang finished speaking to Kakashi, who was gasping for breath, a figure appeared in the thick smoke. At first glance, it was the robot just now, and Zhang Yang gritted his teeth. There is no trace at all. Kakashi also frowned and looked at the robot in front of him. Unexpectedly, the robot looked at Kakashi at this time, revealing a strange movement. The fingers on the hand and the palm of the hand were divided and closed. Although it looked slow, it was very regularly. Kakashi's face changed drastically in an instant, and Zhang Yang could see that it was learning from Kakashi's not just now. Kakashi, run! As soon as Zhang Yang shouted, Kakashi jumped away at once, and at the same time, the robot's seal also came into play, and a thing similar to a cloth bag on the ground rose at the position where Kakashi stood just now. If it was too late for a second or as slow as Zhang Yang's words, Kakashi was already trapped inside. It's okay, Kakashi-senpai. Zhang Yang asked Kakashi, who had just jumped over, but Kakashi didn't look back, looked at the monster and shook his head. I'm fine, I didn't expect this monster to copy ninjutsu, it's a bit difficult to deal with. Seeing that the robot missed Kakashi, it jumped like a child on the spot, and then turned red at the eyes of the three of them. Zhang Yang knew that if he followed the routine, this guy should be powerful again. Everyone, pay attention, this robot is going to increase its power again, so be careful. Zhang Yang had just finished speaking, and his words were confirmed. The robot formed the seal in an instant and launched the cloth bag technique on the three of them. Although it was only a glimpse, the cloth bag technique would soon surround the three of them. Zhang Yang exerted his strength, punched a hole in the cloth bag, and ran out with the two of them, and the robot seemed to have an endless supply of chakras, and kept printing on the three people who escaped, and the speed was extremely fast. Cassie was ashamed. Is this the gap between robots and humans? Zhang Yang didn't think too much about it, he just wanted to find a place for Nico to hide first, otherwise he wouldn't be able to fight with peace of mind. Seemingly seeing Zhang Yang's concerns, Kakashi said to Zhang Yang as he ran. Go and hide Nico, I'll attract his attention first. Well, please. 3 more darts flew towards the robot in Kakashi's hand, and the robot seemed to sense something hitting him, stopped the knot and prepared to avoid it, and at this time Kakashi was already in front of him. A roundhouse kick hit the robot in the face. After the robot was hit, the force of its legs made it shoot back to the wall, and the broken wall instantly appeared as a burst of dust covering the robot. Chapter 256 Nightmare Robot. Kakashi, are you alright? Kakashi stepped back first and stood with Zhang Yang, and Zhang Yang also hid and Nico hurried over, while Kakashi looked at Zhang Yang speechlessly. You call me senior and Kakashi for a while, why are you so entangled? Haha, this. In fact, Zhang Yang didn't know why this happened. He wanted to answer Kakashi and said it casually, but at this time, a vision suddenly appeared, a huge shadow suddenly appeared in the sky, and a huge shadow also appeared on the ground. At this time, I wanted to run. The two of them discovered that the shadow was a bag technique, and Kakashi also murmured. I didn't expect that this technique could be transformed into this. If this robot is added to the war, the consequences will be disastrous. Because the bag technique at this moment has covered the top, covering the size of 3 football fields, and the bottom is slowly rising, and there is no place to escape at all. At this time, Kakashi hit the robot on the wall and come out slowly. The pattern on his hand was changing all the time. From this point of view, it was a little stressful for the robot to control so much. At this time, Kakashi rushed towards the robot to break its knot, but no one thought of it. The robot will not only copy ninjutsu, but also copy the fighting technique. Kakashi just came in front of him and was about to kick it away again. Unexpectedly, the robot kicked Kakashi with a faster foot. Kakashi disappeared in front of the robot like a shot arrow. After a second, Kakashi disappeared in front of the robot. Only then did I see a thick layer of dust rolling up on the opposite side of the robot, and the sound of the wall collapsing could be heard incessantly. Zhang Yang shouted worriedly. Kakashi. And a faint voice came from the ruins. I am fine. This robot. Pay attention, Zhang Yang. After speaking, there was no movement, and Zhang Yang knew at this time that Kakashi was saving his energy to recover and continue the fight, but to Zhang Yang's delight, Kakashi was kicked to the very edge, where Nico stayed. In the same way, it will not be covered by this cloth bag technique, which relieves a lot of pressure for Zhang Yang. A guy who can copy. After Zhang Yang finished speaking, the cloth bag technique completely covered Zhang Yang. Although Kakashi was worried, he knew that the robot did not see the fire escape he was using, so Zhang Yang still had time to come out of it. Sure enough, after a while, a black flame oozes out of the cloth bag. Kakashi was overjoyed. Knowing that Zhang Yang had used the Amaterasu flame that could devour everything, Kakashi was relieved and slowly recovered in place. After the black flame completely disintegrated the cloth bag, Zhang Yang, who was covered in black flame, was shown in front of the robot, and the robot did not know what it was, nor did it see the Zhang Yang seal, so it was very distressed, and then an absorption device was revealed. Know the consistent style of the robot, absorb learning and self-destruct. But Zhang Yang was not worried. Instead, he stood on the ground and seemed to be waiting for him to absorb it. The robot's eyes were red, and the absorption device started to work, sucking in the surrounding stones and smoke, and the black flames on Zhang Yang's body also slowed down. It was slowly sucked in, and the flame was still slowly going in at first. In less than a second, the robot seemed to have found a treasure, sucking at Zhang Yang with maximum power, while Zhang Yang still stood there and emitted a steady stream of black flames for the robot to absorb. Seeing the stalemate between the two sides, Kakashi was also shocked. He didn't understand what Zhang Yang was thinking, why he let the robot suck the most powerful black flame from his body, and the robot seemed to be sucking continuously like a normal person. After watching it for a long time, Kakashi realized what Zhang Yang wanted to do, but Zhang Yang had already started to practice. Zhang Yang suddenly extinguished the black flame, and the remaining black flame on his body ran away with the absorption of the robot in an instant, and the robot was almost absorbed. Careful Kakashi saw a clue. The robot was burned a little by the black flame, but it didn't continue to burn down. Although Kakashi admired the robot's hard shell, he didn't expect that Amaterasu's flames only burned a little bit of skin on him, which made him Kakashi had the idea of cutting grass and roots to robots. After seeing that he couldn't let out flames, the robot changed away, spraying black flames out, and spraying black flames at Zhang Yang, but machines are always machines, and no one is as flexible as a human being. The robot that was preparing to launch the black flame did not know at this time that it had fallen into the trap that Zhang Yang had prepared in advance, and Kakashi felt helpless with Zhang Yang's strategy. If he were that robot, he might have done the same. A burst of black flames mixed with strong winds hit Zhang Yang, and Zhang Yang calmly folded his hands together to form a seal. Water escape water curtain change. A thin water curtain appeared in front of Zhang Yang. No matter who it was, the water curtain seemed vulnerable. When the black flames entered the water curtain with going, the robot was already attacked by the enemy, and a water curtain appeared behind the robot. The curtain, black flames attacked from inside. All the black flames that attacked Zhang Yang hit the robot like a poisonous snake. Kakashi was overjoyed and found that the robot began to peel off its skin and slowly melted like chocolate, but Kakashi was still not cautious. Casey underestimated him. The impacted robot seemed to know that he was in danger. At this time, Zhang Yang suddenly discovered that a black flame had returned to his back, although there was no damage. But what makes Zhang Yang terrifying is that the robot has learned its own water curtain technique. Zhang Yang, who originally wanted to kill with one hit, now knows that this robot is not easy to deal with. After learning his own water curtain technique, he can even rebound all ninjutsu attack, which makes him a head too big. Zhang Yang completely absorbed the black flames that came from behind, and after the robot put the black flames on, the metal on its body had stopped melting, and some circuits and wires were exposed outside, and Zhang Yang couldn't help but complain. Fuck, Terminator. Then Zhang Yang didn't dare to use other moves, he could only consume him with black flames, and he seemed to use the water curtain to the fullest, which made Zhang Yang scolded very unhappily in his heart. Stealing to learn is so arrogant. But Zhang Yang seemed to have forgotten that his own water curtain was stealing from Pumir. Zhang Yang was so angry that he divided the flame into 4 strands and hit the robot in different directions. Zhang Yang said proudly in his heart. Look how you hide. Chapter 257_. The robot spread out the water curtain and wrapped it around itself, just like wearing a water suit. It also wrapped the internal wires that leaked outside, and the 4 black flames that followed Zhang Yang also melted in. I didn't expect this guy to be adaptable. It would be even more troublesome if he kept wearing that thing on his body. Zhang Yangshin watched the 4 flames he shot out being absorbed, and there was a trace of anxiety in his heart, and the robot seemed to see Zhang Yang's concerns, and did not lift the water curtain on his body, and rushed towards Zhang Yang directly, and at this time Zhang Yang I had been on alert for a long time, but I didn't expect him to get close, and Zhang Yang was a little bit in a hurry for a while. It has to be said that the explosive power and strength of the robot are amazingly powerful. 1 second Zhang Yang is in a defensive posture, and the next second it kicks on Zhang Yang's arm. And Zhang Yang didn't know how terrifying the power of the robot was until he got this kick. For someone like Kakashi who endured it, he lay on the ground for a long time and couldn't move. Although Zhang Yang was a child's body, his spirit and chakra and so on are far more than an ordinary child, even more than Kakashi's tolerance. But then the robot kicked Zhang Yang and his arm was numb and was knocked back a dozen steps, and Kakashi asked loudly on the side. Zhang Yang, it's alright. Well, I can still hold on. I didn't expect my arm to be numb. This guy is really amazing. Kakashi lay on the ground speechless for a while. Not only could he not keep up with the speed of the robot, but the robot kicked him far away with one kick. Zhang Yang only stepped back and did not suffer any internal injuries, but his arms were numb. Kakashi, who was seriously injured lying on the ground, doubted Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang, you are. Zhang Yang heard Kakashi's tone of doubt, and suddenly realized that his arm was numb when he was kicked, and Kakashi was seriously injured when he was kicked. Kakashi was injured even by a Junin, but he was intact. No loss, this is a bit unreasonable, and Zhang Yang saw that the robot has to move again, so he perfunctory. I just used the ninjutsu I learned in the land of sand. This ninjutsu can make myself very hard and heavy, so I will be fine. The robot rushed towards the face after Zhang Yang finished speaking. Although Kakashi, as a copy ninja, has never heard of this ninjutsu, now is not the time to question it. Kakashi thought in his heart, as long as the bones are in place, you can barely fight, and it's not my style to rely on publicity for this child. Zhang Yang used the moves he used in the previous world to fight the robot, but none of the attacks he hit were hits, because his fists and any attacks hit the air as if they were in the air. However, the robot's attack hits Zhang Yang from time to time, which makes Zhang Yang very injured. When did he hang someone else's life here and be used by a nameless robot to hang himself? Kakashi was almost recovering on the side. Seeing Zhang Yang who was beaten from time to time, Kakashi had already observed the flaw in the robot just now, and shouted loudly to Zhang Yang who was being beaten. Zhang Yang, this robot's fist will materialize when it hits you, and you can defeat it in one fell swoop as long as you seize that time. Hearing Kakashi's words, Zhang Yang also noticed that whether he hit him with his feet or hands, it would materialize the moment he hit him, or he would hit him empty. The two who discovered this flaw began to cooperate. Kakashi went around behind and made eye contact with Zhang Yang. As long as the moment of materialization was revealed, Zhang Yang seized the opportunity to feint, and the robot would definitely disperse the water curtain behind it to the front. At that time, Kakashi delivered a fatal blow from behind. It's now. Zhang Yang feigned and punched out, and his ribs were exposed. The robot hit him without hesitation, and the water curtain in his hand also faded, revealing the real body. Zhang Yang had been prepared for a long time, and the other hand stretched out to grab the robot hand, and the robot found the trap at this time, and while breaking free of Zhang Yang's hand, it filled the front hand with some water curtains from the back. But where would Zhang Yang let it succeed? Releasing black flames and slowly melting into the robot's interior, and the robot's eyes began to turn redder, Zhang Yang felt something was wrong. The robot suddenly stopped struggling, and instead held Zhang Yang's hand tightly. Zhang Yang felt that something was wrong, and quickly told Kakashi to stop. Zhang Yang, what's going on with you? Zhang Yang himself couldn't explain the sudden and strange behavior of the robot, and Kakashi didn't know what happened. Seeing that he didn't respond for a long time, he was going to go over to see what happened. At this time, Zhang Yang slowly raised his head and said with difficulty. A sound. It was absorbing my chakra ready to replenish. Water curtain. Small, heart. Kakashi really found out that the back of this immobile robot had just taken away a part of the water curtain to officially neutralize it. Unexpectedly, it started to gather again, and it became a thicker water curtain than before. At this time, Zhang Yang tried his best. Breaking its hand apart, Kakashi started to form the seal, and Kakashi's face instantly became unpleasant when he saw that the publicity was forming the seal. Zhang Yang, you'll die from chakra exhaustion after using Rachel, so stop now. Senior Kakashi, I'm fine, you also start preparing to attack his back. The robot instantly learned the ninjutsu of the seal in front of him. Zhang Yang knew that he was fainting, but Rachel could break the water curtain, so be sure to give it a try. Kakashi saw Zhang Yang use Rachel and immediately knew what to do. Not inferior to the speed of the robot's seal, he ran towards the robot with a thunder and lightning of the might of the god of thunder in his hand. It's just that the robot didn't know that Kakashi's attack was behind it, but it also learned to make a seal, and the thunder and lightning collided with the thunder and lightning that came from Zhang Yang, and there was a slight ripple in the center of this force. A few seconds later, the stone residue covering the ground spread out to the surrounding with the strong wind squeezed out by this force. Its power is great, except for Kakashi who is sprinting and Zhang Yang who is fighting against Kakashi's attack with the robot. The audience is swept away by this residual power, and the ground of the soles of Zhang Yang and the robot's feet is also sunken. A big hole. When Zhang Yang was fighting with all his strength, he suddenly shouted to the back. Kakashi, it's up to you. The robot that was about to look back was intensified by Zhang Yang in front of him, and Zhang Yang's face was injured several times by irregular electric shocks. The robot had to pay attention to the human being in front of him to increase the power to push all the attacks, but here comes the thing that makes the robot even more puzzled. Zhang Yang suddenly increased the power to push over, and when the robot was almost unable to bear it, Zhang Yang suddenly released his strength, and his figure flashed 10 meters away. Chapter 258 The Dying Kakashi. The robot also slammed out the burden on its hand all at once. At this time, the pressure of a burst of lightning behind it made it too late for the robot to dodge. Rachel. Kakashi penetrated the body of the robot with Rachel, and then jumped far away. The robot behind him was like eating shawarma, and the explosion couldn't stop at all. After Zhang Yang and Kakashi quickly retreated a few dozen meters, the explosion did not affect the two of them, and the center of the explosion was only a fire and a burst of air waves that had not yet dissipated. It looks like it's resolved. Zhang Yang sat on the ground and breathed a sigh of relief, wiping the nervous sweat with his hands, while Kakashi was clutching his ribs, because he was a little out of place when he used Rachel just now, and he accidentally jumped away to avoid it. The flash came, so Kakashi was so miserable. Looking at Kakashi like this, Zhang Yang also took a serious look at Kakashi's injury, and finally came to the conclusion. Kakashi-senpai, if you exercise more vigorously, your ribs will probably pierce your heart. Zhang Yang used chakra to investigate Kakashi's injury, but he didn't expect it to be so serious, but then he thought about it. Also, how could a man like Kakashi be injured by skin trauma after so many battles and injuries excruciatingly painful? Successful trial of the 7th gate, ready to go to the 8th gate. The melodious voice resounded throughout the venue, and Naiko, who heard this voice, knew that Zhang Yang and the others had succeeded. Although she heard the shouts and explosions of the two of them several times and tried to stick her head out, Naiko held back, and finally she could come out to check on the two of them. He was injured, so he couldn't help but ran out and shouted. Zhang Yang, Kakashi-senpai, are you all right? After speaking, seeing Kakashi lying on the ground in pain, Naiko hurriedly rushed over. She couldn't believe that Kakashi would be injured so badly. By the way, I have another wish for this one. Zhang Yang suddenly remembered that he still had a wish, and judging from the urination of the voice, if he didn't make a wish to make it come true, the wish would become the 8th wish in the next door, and the wish of the 8 and the last gate will be in the next gate. But there is no next gate at all, so Zhang Yang thought, it is better to realize this wish on Kakashi. Cough cough, it seems that the rib has been inserted into the heart. Is it powerless to return to the sky? Haha, it's okay, you must go out, and it's not worth my pains. Naiko just came over to see Kakashi saying this to the two of them, but Naiko was very unhappy and shouted at Kakashi. You're not going to die. What nonsense. We're all going out, aren't we? Zhang Yang looked at Naizi with sad tears, because Naiko said so, but she knew that Kakashi would die in a while, and she was also very sad in her heart, but the person who came in to save her died here. Naiko felt unstoppable sadness in her heart when she thought of this, and tears slowly dripped down her face. Ha ha ha, what are you talking about? Just when Kakashi was silent and Naoko was crying sadly, Jongyang suddenly laughed, and it was a very happy laugh. Kakashi saw Jongyang smiling so happily on the ground. Although he didn't know why, he saw it. With one less person to grieve for him, Kakashi felt a little more relaxed in his own heart. But Naizi didn't think about it anymore, so he rushed up and took a bite of Jongyang, which brought Jongyang back from a happy state. Naizi thought that something was wrong with Jongyang and wanted to bite him harder, but Jongyang pushed him away. She said aside, "It hurts. Stop biting." Seeing Jongyang, Naoko, who still had tears on her face, said that she slowly loosened her teeth and looked at Kakashi, who was spitting out blood after sobbing a few times. "Jongyang, now that the senior is about to die, you can still laugh. I didn't expect you to be such a person, woohoo tilde." Seeing that Naoko, who had just stopped her tears, was about to cry again, Jongyang hurriedly stopped it. "No, I'm laughing because Kakashi-senpai will come back to life soon." When Kakashi on the ground heard the news, he also cast a questioning look, while Naoko opened her eyes wide and stopped sobbing. "Really? Are you telling the truth?" "Haha, really, wait." After Jongyang finished speaking, he ignored the two of them, but walked to the side and said loudly to the air, "My wish is to save this man on earth." Kakashi and Naoko didn't know what he was talking about in the air, but Naoko still chose to believe him, and Kakashi was also a dead horse as a living horse doctor. He didn't care about lying on the ground, just closed his eyes and resigned to fate. Look. At this time, a strong wind was blowing, and Jongyang and Naoko, who were not injured, were swept to the edge by the strong wind, while the injured Kakashi did not move at all. Naoko just wanted to run over to save Kakashi, but was stopped. Naoko looked at Jongyang in confusion, but he pulled Naoko back and said, "Trust me, Kakashi is safe inside and he'll be healed in a while." Naoko knew that Jongyang would not lie to her. Although she looked over there worriedly, she followed Jongyang to a place beyond the edge, relying on Jongyang's arms to watch the huge field wind blowing and ravaging everywhere. This is... Naoko saw Kakashi being slowly lifted up in the gust of wind by a force I don't know if it was the wind or some other force, and the direction was in the middle of the wind. Naoko couldn't help but grab Jongyang's body, and Jongyang also he put his hand on the back of her hand to signal not to worry. Because Jongyang drags this wish, although he made it unintentionally, but he knows that no matter what wish, this voice will help him realize, although this is the second serious wish, but this invisible magic forced Jongyang to go believe in this voice, or the creator of everything. Look! Naoko exclaimed and pulled Jongyang back from her thoughts. Jongyang thought to herself, if this girl who is so mad, if she really becomes my wife, I'm afraid my parents will be scared of heart attack by her. Well, it seems I guessed right. Jongyang watched Kakashi in the gust of wind being slowly put down, and Kakashi, who was seriously injured, could not stand by reason, but he stood firmly in front of him, like a lively young man, jumping up and down inside, as if it's like adapting to your body. Hey, you two, are you alright? Seeing Kakashi answering and running here, Naoko also looked at Jongyang with grievance. That, I bit just now, you are still so fierce to you. Will you hate me? Chapter 259 Good News and Sadness. Looking at this delicate girl in front of her, she can make herself so cute even with an apology. Jongyang has long since fallen into beauty, how can he still think of those things? Hey, I said you too, at least you should celebrate my rebirth, or come and ask me if I'm okay. It hurts me to start showing love again here. Only then did Jongyang raise his head to look at Kakashi who was already in front of him. At this time, the gust of wind had disappeared. It seemed that he left after rescuing Kakashi. Jongyang looked at Kakashi apologetically. Casey Road. That, senior, I'm glad you're getting better. Well, me too, seniors must be more careful in the future. Seeing the two of them hugging each other tightly, Kakashi showed a faint smile, and then said to the two of them. Are you guys going to walk like this? I'm not against it, but if you fall down, wouldn't you kiss them together, Tilda? After hearing Kakashi's words, Naiko realized that she was still snuggling in Zhang Yang's arms, and suddenly blushed and pulled her body aside, and Zhang Yang thought of it with a wry smile. I finally got a chance to get in touch, and it's you who made trouble. Are you still here to observe and guide the wedding night? Oh, the relationship between the two of you is really good, Tilda. Kakashi raised his voice deliberately on the side. Zhang Yang knew that he was telling Naiko to listen to it on purpose, and Naiko was shy after hearing it and wanted to run farther to hide, but was caught by Zhang Yang, and then Naiko was shy. Before he could react, he was caught in Zhang Yang's arms. Seeing the scene, Kakashi naturally fanned the flames even more. Coaxed on the side, Zhang Yang felt strange in his heart, and said without any obstruction. Is that what you said to save you? Seeing Naiko burying her head deeper in Zhang Yang's arms, Kakashi understood Isho. When I was about to die, I suddenly remembered that I still have a lot of things to do, and I am always so serious in front of you. To be honest, I am not used to it myself, and I thought that I would have no chance. Haha, since I am alive, I will play a good trick, senior, I have no malicious intentions. Kakashi said these words from the bottom of his heart, and Naiko stuck his head out and said to Kakashi. Senior, thank you. Haha, nothing, just. Before Kakashi finished speaking, the clouds in the sky of the Colosseum suddenly changed color, as if it was about to rain, and the wind on the ground began to gradually become stronger and stronger, as if the next torrential rain was a once-in-a-century, Zhang Yang. With Naiko behind him and Kakashi behind them, that familiar voice sounded again. The last door has begun. I will also show my true colors. Kakashi and Naiko are not too afraid of this sentence, but Zhang Yang is different, because he has seen the omnipotence of this voice, and all kinds of arbitrary space transformations, and can even create robots as intelligent and powerful. Otherwise, if he and Kakashi risked their lives, they might be carried on the robot, and the clouds in the sky slowly gathered, like a vortex swept toward the ground, and the wind on the ground also responded to the arrival of the clouds. A large circle of strong storms spread out from the center of the cloud, and Kakashi, who was silent at the time, frowned and said, This wind has chakra in it. Although Zhang Yang and the others had waited for more than a dozen times in the cave, Konoha had only passed 2 days at this time. Damn it, take advantage of this time. Tsunade followed everyone outside the village to meet the foreign enemies. Tsunade saw that after Naruto killed an enemy with the shadow clone technique, several enemies rushed towards Naruto. Just when Tsunade wanted to save him, he found that he had gone to Miaomu Mountain. Raya suddenly appeared in front of Naruto, and Naruto, who fought hard, found out that it was Jiraiya, and immediately screamed with joy. Ha ha ha, master. When Tsunade saw Jiraiya coming, she felt a lot more relieved, and she saw that a ninja beside her was about to slash her sword. Damn it, I'd get slashed even if I could react right away. Ah! After a scream, Jiraiya caught Tsunade's body that was backing away, and Jiraiya smiled at Tsunade with satisfaction. It's okay, you can't be careless in battle, Tilda. Stupid, idiot, it's so noisy, who wants you to save me? And Jiraiya also saw Tsunade break free from his blushing and left, and smiled secretly before continuing to meet the enemy, while Naruto saw the tiredness of the two and looked at the backs of the two with a smirk. Suddenly a sound of weapons colliding appeared behind Naruto. Naruto was startled, and found that Sasuke used his own knife to catch the knife that was slashing at Naruto Ninja. The two were at a stalemate, and Ninja wanted to kick away. Sasuke. Unexpectedly, Sasuke dodged beautifully, and then kept the knife close, and returned to the carbine. The knife was already in the enemy's stomach, and the enemy in front of him watched the child who was a little shorter than him collapse unwillingly. Well done, Sasuke. Naruto came over to worship and admire Sasuke for a while Sasuke cursed Naruto with a wicked face. Do you know you'll die if you're distracted on the battlefield? Seeing Sasuke so angry, Naruto quickly changed the subject and said with a smile. Alright, please go eat miso ramen after it's over, let's go and destroy the enemy first. Sasuke looked helplessly at Naruto who was running away, and continued to participate in the battle to defend Konoha. After a burst of gunpowder smoke, the scratches on the trees, the scattered leaves scattered everywhere, the broken arrows that were half on the tree and half on the ground, and the corpses that were being cleaned up on the ground, Tsunade couldn't help but fell silent, and Jiraiya also fell silent. Just finished the battle over there and ran over, seeing Tsunade like this, quietly ran over and blew in Tsunade's ear. Tsunade instantly blushed and turned into anger. You bastard! There must be a limit to the indecent. After speaking, Jiraiya also felt that his prank seemed to anger Tsunade, so he immediately wanted to escape, but he did not expect that Tsunade's speed was even better, and a punch with a sonic sound hit Jiraiya firmly on the body. And Jiraiya was also sent flying into a nearby wood. When everyone saw Jiraiya flying over, they thought it was another enemy attack. They looked at Tsunade, waiting for the order to attack, but Tsunade waved his hand easily. Road. There are no enemies, pack up and go back to the village. Only Naruto knew what happened, and wanted to imitate Jiraiya's blowing action on Sakura, but seeing Naruto's actions, Sakura would not let him succeed, and slowly put his fist on Naruto's face on. It indicates that as long as he dares to move himself, he will dare to beat him. Chapter 260 Inner Ghost. Naruto remembered the past, and instantly became honest, and kept away from Sakura obediently. Sasuke looked at a few people on the side, and turned his head to other places in disdain, while Sakura looked at Sasuke with nympho. Naruto looked at Sasuke with hatred, and the group returned to the wood under the curtain of the setting sun. Yi-kun, of course, Kai carried Jiraiya who was still in a coma on his back, which made Kai and Xiaoli, who were born to challenge the strong, couldn't help but give up the idea of defeating Tsunade. In the elders' meeting hall, Tsunade sat on the chair and finished the last document, rubbed his temples, closed his eyes and sighed. Why did these things suddenly appear in a series? Since Kakashi entered the cave, he has been attacked by an unusually large number of foreign enemies these days. Although there is no substantial damage, these days, most of the ninjas who are fighting have been exhausted. The strange thing is that these ninjas are all genin, and the highest is chunin, right? Tsunade heard someone talking across from him, so he naturally knew who it was, so he slowly opened his eyes and faced the humanity in front of him. Yes, I was thinking, maybe the enemy will attack next, but we don't even know who the other party is. Jiraiya also leaned against the wall and looked at the ceiling, as if he was hesitant to say anything. Tsunade saw that Jiraiya also had something to say but did not dare to say it. He immediately understood what he meant, and immediately shouted at the door. Guards, please go to patrol elsewhere. You don't need your guards here for the time being. Trouble. After Tsunade finished speaking, the sound of two people jumping down the building was heard at the door. At this time, Jiraiya also gave Tsunade a thumbs up, as if to encourage him. Seeing Tsunade's cold expression, Jiraiya also laughed dryly. After a while, he said, It just happened when Kakashi and I were away, and our formation was well known by the enemy, just like the chunin is a dozen or so dragging us on the upper end, while the lower end is the enemy. Go and fight Naruto who have not yet become chunin. Such a precise arrangement, think about it, what is the situation? Tsunade thought for a moment, his face was startled, and then he looked at Jiraiya with questioning eyes. Could it be that the inner ghost is real? It's all true, although you can't be forgiven, but at this point you're still suspicious. It's a bit stupid, Tsunade. But Tsunade didn't scold him for being stupid, but slowly fell silent and stared at the desk in front of him. Jiraiya also looked at Tsunade who was silent and continued to clarify her thoughts. This way we know our deployment, and we have accurately distributed our troops to deal with everyone, just like the adjusted ratio. It is not bad at all, and I have also watched the situation in the past few days, and the results are similar, Shinrin and Zunin. The number of people assigned is given by each person's constitution. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya, then continued to be silent, while Jiraiya also paused and continued. And I also discovered something that day. You may not believe it if you say it, but I still have to say it and let you know. What's the matter? Tsunade has omitted redundant words, and now she just wants to find out the reason quickly, and gestures to Jiraiya to give her an answer. Although she is asking, she is actually relying on Jiraiya, and he himself knowing this, he left the wall and stood in front of Tsunade and said solemnly. I found the contact letter of Anbu. I also read it carefully. It has the special seal of Anbu, the land of fire, and a faint chakra, so it must not be wrong. Jiraiya also handed the letter to Tsunade, and Tsunade also checked it carefully and found that it was true. This letter can only be written by an elder-level person, and Tsunade seems to have seen this chakra aura somewhere. Before Tsunade asked, Jiraiya answered first. Let's not say who this chakra belongs to. Let's talk about the content inside, colluding with the country of water and Orochimaru to usurp the position of Hokage. It is already a big sin. If you don't find the inner ghost quickly, I am afraid Konoha will be in trouble. Retreat. Tsunade nodded and continued to ask. Then can you tell who this chakra belongs to? At first I thought this chakra was familiar, but I didn't know where I saw it. It wasn't until I remembered that there was Orochimaru in the letter and came over to see you, I suddenly realized. Tsunade heard what Jiraiya said, and heard that he seemed to have guessed who this chakra belonged to, so he nodded to him to signal him to continue, and Jiraiya also pondered for a while, and said seriously. Remember when the three of us were still fighting together and Orochimaru hadn't defected yet? Tsunade nodded irrefutably. Well, does this have anything to do with that time? And Zilai continued. Then do you remember the person who beat the three of us to the point where we couldn't fight back? By the way, this person is the elder of Anbu. Tsunade's eyes widened and he stood up abruptly, opened his mouth to Jiraiya but didn't say anything. Jiraiya had already guessed how shocked he was. He closed Tsunade's mouth and said it in Tsunade. Side road. That's right, it's Sanchoyu Danzo. That chakra is so familiar to me. At this moment, Tsunade suddenly lost motivation, and slowly sat down and gritted his teeth, as if he had to do this but knew he couldn't do it. Seeing her like this, Kakashi comfortably came over and patted Tsunade's head. Now Naruto can't use his nine-tailed power, and Sasuke has just opened his writing wheel, and these children haven't grown up yet, so they can't be hurt, or Konoha's future will be over. Tsunade also woke up from the shock. Hearing what Jiraiya also said, Tsunade was instantly full of blood, and decided to protect the future of these Konoha, and Jiraiya also felt more relieved when she saw her like this. Tsunade suddenly looked dimly asked Zilai also said. Then what should we do now? Our ninjas are already exhausted for the most part. Can the rest of us, the Junin and a small part of the lower ninja, survive their inner and outer cooperation? Besides, there is this terrible old man Danzo. Jiraiya was relieved from his seriousness and resumed his usual laughter, but Tsunade didn't know why. Seeing him smiling so self-consciously, he stretched out his hand and wanted to fight, but Jiraiya also blocked Tsunade's fist. Then looked out the window. Then it's up to Kakashi and that kid. After a gust of wind swept the clouds, there was no heavy rain in the field, and the focus of the three was not in the sky, but a Chinese golden dragon hovering in the huge field just out of the swirling black cloud.